Yo, 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 what's up, guys? You're listening to the Wise Guys Podcast, episode 11. I'm with my boy Johnny T and B Cap as always. You know, it's me, Jay Ray, and we got another NFL episode for you. We're going to break down Kyler Murray's extension. We're going to get into the NFC West preview. We've already gotten to a lot of divisions. NFC West is today. We're going to talk to you about our all-time defensive draft class. We did offense the last time. We're going to break down our defense this time around. You know, I'm going for GM of the year. And then we're going to go for our make or break players. We've already spoken about Baker Mayfield. We've spoken about Tua. There's a couple other people in the NFL that it's make it or break it this season. And we're going to introduce a new topic at the end, a new segment at least, called the 2-minute drill. Instead of check it up, 2-minute drill this week. So I'm going to kick it off to John. John, talk to me about Kyler Murray, man.
Did you guys expect him to get a $200+ million extension yesterday?
Yeah,
I did
wasn't
not.
surprised.
I saw it coming.
You know, you didn't hear about it a whole lot. At least I didn't, from the outside perspective. Then, bam, all of a sudden it happens. Kyler Murray gets the exact thing that he wanted. He's now the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL behind one Deshaun Watson, I would believe, right? Aaron Rodgers is up there as well. I say to myself, for Arizona, people over the last 6 months have completely turned on Kyler just because of the way the team has fallen apart in all 3 years of his career later in the year. The leadership, him going out with his tail between his legs in his one and only playoff game. But you look at this from the Cardinals team perspective, this was a no-brainer. This was a move that had to get done if you want to win because, frankly, Kyler Murray made this franchise relevant. Outside that 1 year Carson Palmer went to the NFC Championship game and got slapped by Green Bay, was it? Right? I'm pretty sure it was.
Wasn't it Carolina?
Was it Carolina? You might be right. I'm forgetting
Carolina.
off the top of my head and blanking. With Kyler, the year before was Josh Rosen. And that was where you saw this quarterback thing is always an inexact science. More often than not in the first round, these guys don't work out. Look at Baker Mayfield, the first guy taken. Second guy, Sam Darnold. Third, I'm trying to think. The third was Josh Allen, and then the fourth was Rosen, because Allen went number 7. Many people in that class were saying they're actually something that said, I would take Lamar Jackson just watching his highlight tape. And hey, look, if you didn't go any deeper and you saw the highlight tape, you took him first overall, wouldn't have been a bad selection. You never know with these quarterbacks. And for Arizona, they got themselves after winning just 2 games the year before, the best quarterback in the 2019 class. You look at the rest, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, may he rest in peace. They are so fortunate to have a quarterback like this, where he's one of the best deep throwers in the NFL, one of the most dynamic runners. He is explosive. You add the weapons on the outside. He's shown he can bring a team to the playoffs. We can talk more about the play calling. We can talk more about the roster and the way the draft picks have been used over the last 3 years that he's been in the NFL. But I say to myself, if you want to take the next step of the team, you need Kyler all in. What if he was holding out? You know, that is the worst possible case of this team, because without Kyler, there is no shot this team's making the playoffs. Sure, it's because Colt McCoy would then be starting, and he's a fine backup, but you don't want him starting for a season. Nonetheless, you need Kyler to take that next step, and in order to have him, you need him all in. So for me, no matter how much money this was, you absolutely had to do it because every other team in the NFL, outside maybe 5 or 6, would love to have Kyler, given the fact he's just 24 years old and already creeping into the top 10.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. And I think you look at the NFL today and you look at the quarterbacks running the show, you know, you need to have a quarterback that's a game changer. And that's exactly what Kyler Murray is, whether it be with his legs or with his arm. Like you mentioned, he's already 24 years old. And when we kicked off this past season, you know, he was an MVP candidate for a while. So it's hard to see Arizona ever regretting this deal. I think, how long's the extension? Can you read me the numbers again?
So it's $230.5 million, only $160 million in guarantees. I say only because Deshaun got his fully guaranteed. So it's good they didn't have to fully guarantee this entire thing because he's a smaller quarterback. You don't know if these hits are going to pile up. Maybe he takes a few rough blows. So about $46 million annually, which is so much. I think that was where it's the second most in the NFL. I'll double check in a second. The extension in terms of years, I'd assume it's 5 years. Yeah,
It's 5 years.
I'm thinking the NBA, but yeah, it's 5.
Yeah, so looking at his age, 24 years old, 5-year extension, this is the kind of guy that you expect. Well, you drafted him with the number 1 pick. You expect him to lead you to a Super Bowl or become a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And I think that's the biggest question with Kyler. When you look at him, he's an elite quarterback. I think he has all the tools to become one. But is he a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? Brandon, what do you think?
In turn, like I like Kyler Murray. He's a dynamic player. He's got the talent with his arm and his legs. He can make plays with either one. And I root for the shorter guys.
Me
He's
too.
5'10", so seeing him out there, I don't even know how much he weighs, but actually I got it right here. I'm surprised he's he's 207 pounds. That was actually shot. I would have thought he would be sub 200.
Do they lie about that stuff for quarterbacks? Like for a guy like him? Because to me, it looks like he's 5'9".
Oh, you're talking about height?
Talking about weight. I know they BS
Oh,
about
weight.
the height. He's not 5'10".
Height, I would think that they're probably taking it with shoes on.
Yeah, maybe 5'10" with shoes on.
Yeah.
I like to tell myself I'm 5'8" with shoes.
Yeah.
I tell myself the same thing. I'm 5'10", 5'11" with shoes, but I'm
Yeah,
really like 5'9"
weight could be
without.
different. I mean, they could probably be taking the weight with like gear on or something like that. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
they embellish a little bit. But if he is even close to 207 pounds, that's shocking because I would have thought like maybe a buck 85 or something like that. The biggest question that I have with Kyler and the narrative surrounding him is, and John just mentioned it. He falls apart later in the year, and I wanted to do a little bit more digging into that. So I went over his stats just the last 2 years. So in 2020, right, in the games 1 through 8, he went 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 68% completion percentage, 2,130 yards, and a 68.3 QBR. Then in games 9 through 16, he went 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 66% completion percentage, 1,841 yards, and a 50.1 QBR. And then in 2021, he only played 14 games. So I did, the first 7 and the last 7. So in the first 7, he went 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 73% completion percentage, which is incredible, 2,000 yards, and a 65.1 QBR. But in the last 7 games, he went 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 66% completion percentage, 1,785 yards, and he dropped to a 49.2 QBR. So when I look at that, I think his size in the NFL playing against grown ass men, and not to say Kyler's not a grown ass man, but in terms of body type, the help me out, guys. Accumulation. Thank you. Accumulation throughout the year of the hits just adding up and adding up. It looks like it's taking a toll on his body. So I mean, is he?
I would disagree.
It's not taking a toll on him?
Well, I don't think that's the reason why he's fallen apart later in the year. And by
Okay.
falling apart, I mean the Cardinals are just dropping off significantly. I think one of the biggest things is Cliff Kingsbury's play calling to extend drives that hasn't been up to the level that it is to start seasons. And people will mention ad nauseum that Cliff at Texas Tech and his other schools would consistently fall off in the college seasons. That's just what happens. Because to start a year, you're going to be scheduling against crappy college teams you're going to beat the tar out of. And then later in the year, you'll play tougher opponents. That's not what I'm going at here. I think the actual play calling as a guy who has to, with Kyler's size, build an offense around that hasn't been up to the par that it needs to be. You look at a guy that's 5'9". It's not necessarily the hits, but for me, I feel like it's him seeing over the offensive linemen that are like over 6 feet. And so the middle of the field for him, it's not really a point of emphasis. He can't really see, And people make those jokes about his height. It's a real thing. If you can't see over a 6'2" offensive lineman, it's 380. And meanwhile, you got 6'3", 6'4" maybe defensive linemen throwing their arms up in the air. So he has to get out the pocket to extend the play. And I look at the play call and I say to myself, Cliff Kingsbury needs to do a better job. I look at the defense. I think Steve Keim, their general manager, needs to do a better job drafting. If he's going to go with the defense side of the ball, it needs to be better. This last offseason, we're about to get into our NFC West preview in a little bit, so we're not going to dive too deep into it. We're mostly talking about Kyler here. But I just don't think all that blame can necessarily go on Kyler when it comes to them falling apart.
Well, yeah, I know. I have to agree. Even last season when Arizona got off to such a nice start, D-Hop didn't play a majority of those games. He played 10 games last season, and his production was nowhere near what it was the year before, where he put up 1,400 yards. I think he was in the 10 games. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can pull it up right now.
He had 42 receptions, about 13.5 yards per, and per game it was only 57 yards, which is a significant drop off from 88, 78, and 98 the 3 years before.
Yeah, his red zone production was there. He had 8 TDs in the 10 games, but the yards weren't there. It just wasn't the same D-Hop. And obviously he ended up getting hurt and not playing the rest of the season. And now, like we said, before we get into the West preview, he's suspended for a couple of games to start this upcoming season. So that's another question mark with Kyler Murray. With your number one out of the picture for a while, is it going to force him to regress? Is he going to be playing at the elite level that we expect him to be? Because the NFC West is no joke. The defenses that he has to go up against, they're no slouches. So I think this is a big. I mean, before we go into make it or break it, but I think Kyler Murray, this is a big prove it year. Like, we want to see you take that next step. You know what I mean? Like, he's in the fold. I don't expect him going anywhere anytime soon, but this is a big prove it year to find out, like I mentioned earlier, if he's a Super Bowl quarterback or not. Can he make that leap?
Next 3 years, over under in playoff appearances. For me, I'm going to set it at 2. Does he make the playoffs all 3 years? Or does he, I don't know how betting actually works. I don't know why I'm saying 2. Is he going to make the playoffs in each of these next 3 seasons? Let's answer that.
I'd say 2. I wouldn't be surprised if they missed this year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
I would say they're going to make the playoffs all 3 years.
Okay, we're going to dive into this for the NFC West segment. One more thing for playoff wins in the next, we'll go 4 years. Over under, I'm saying at 3.5. Again, 4? Less?
You said in the next 4 years?
Yeah, we're going 4 for this. 3.5. Is he going over or under? Under? I'm going under.
I'd say under.
And for the first one, I should have said the 2.5 for playoff appearances. I think I'm going with the under at 2. And then the other thing, too, is, Justin, we talked about this a little bit before we dived in. I want to ask you, basically the question you had is, it was sort of, can you win with Kyler at the highest level? But the other layer of it is, can he mature enough as a leader and just a voice in the locker room? Because as your quarterback, you're the face of the franchise. You're making all this money. You can't just be a great player, but you have to be the one that leads when you're getting whipped in a playoff game. I think the rumors were he subbed himself out for the last 2 plays or what have you. Mm-hmm. Is this a guy that's really going to play with the infectious energy to get his guys going when they're down? Is he going to be the one to rally his troops in the second half to really take this team to the next level? Because in the NFL, so much of it is you're going to get beat, you're going to have an off night. But as a Cardinals fan, when you see the money that this guy is making, you always want to feel like you're never out of the fight. It doesn't matter if he's going to come back and win you the game, but you want to feel like with him, no matter how much you're down by, he's always going to give you a chance. And more importantly, he's always going to put up a fight to the very end. Do you guys think he's going to turn 25 soon, that he will take that next step in his maturity after getting this contract?
I do think so. The biggest concern for me is, what is Arizona going to put around him to succeed? Defensive. Is the defense going to be up to par with the teams in his division? Because I feel like there's only so much that he can do on offense. He's a dynamic weapon as it is. And as long as he's on the field, paired with D-Hop and Rondale Moore and all the other guys that they have in the fold, I believe that this is an offense that he can lead to a Super Bowl, but it's more defense for me. So yeah, I'm all in on the Kyler Murray train. I know I knocked that he's going to win that he won't win as many playoff games, but that's just because as long as Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are still in the picture, I just don't see the NFC being so clear for guys like him.
Brant, what do you think?
Kyler is a Super Bowl champ. In the foreseeable future, I don't see it. I don't see a path. Obviously we're going to get into the West rankings, but I don't see them beating the Rams. I don't see them beating, like Justin mentioned, an Aaron Rodgers-led team or a Tom Brady-led team. The NFC, though, entirely, it's pretty open besides the top 3 teams. So that's why I say in the foreseeable future, I don't really see it. Maybe years down the line, we'll see how the NFC, unfolds. with all the teams. If they get better, if they get more better quarterback play and better team play. So we'll see. But in the foreseeable future, I don't see Kyler winning a Super Bowl.
Time to jump into our NFC West preview.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I wrote down AFC in my notes, which is pretty good. Proud of the AFC. So
Done with the AFC.
Want to introduce us? Because we're gonna start off with the Cardinals.
Okay. So I'll kick it off. I'll start with my NFC West ranking. I think me and Brandon are on the same page. I don't know if you're going to throw a curveball here, but I've got the Rams #1. I think the additions of Bobby Wagner, one of the best middle linebackers in football, paired up with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on defense, Leonard Floyd also rushing the passer. I think that's so scary, man. And it just gets me so mad because I watch NFL teams that say they have no money. The Rams spend so much money, so much, and yet can pull off a move and get a Bobby Wagner, add Allen Robinson to take the place of a Robert Woods and an Odell Beckham. You know, that's just very scary for me. So I got the Rams #1, and I didn't even mention their offense. I think I don't even need to talk about it. At #2, I have the 49ers. Even though they have question marks at the QB spot, I do believe their defense is good enough to make up for it. And if Trey Lance becomes what we all expect him to be, or what the 49ers expect him to be, this is a very dynamic team offensively and defensively. #3, I got the Cardinals because I don't feel like they're good enough to contend with the Rams yet. I think they're right there neck and neck with the 49ers. They're pretty close, but we already spoke about the Kyler extension. Their top pick was another tight end, Trey McBride, who's pretty good, but second rounder. D-Hop's suspension really throws a loop in there for me, so I can't really see them being that top dog team within the first. How long is that suspension? 9 games, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think it's 6.
It's 6 games. Okay, maybe I just had the numbers reversed, but yeah, with D-Hop suspended, I think this is a team that needs to get off on a hot start, and without him, I can't see that happening. And then Seattle's my last team.
Really?
No Russell Wilson. Yeah, no Russell Wilson. And I'm not a believer in Drew Lock. I'm not a believer in Geno or anybody else that they can throw under center.
So do you guys want to target the Cardinals first, or do you want to jump?
Well, I want to jump in. I want to jump
Yep.
in. Just to hit a couple of Justin's.
I want to jump in on the Cardinals first since we were just talking about them. We're gonna jump into it. That way we'll go in order from the Cardinals since we're just talking about them. They'll go into the Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks last.
Well, I just wanted to jump on what Justin just said about all the teams, though.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Well, we're gonna have to preview. I want to preview each individually.
I know, but I want to. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just go into it.
All right. So in terms of I had a feeling, Justin, that you were going to put Rams 1, 49ers 2, because I'm not mistaken, you put the 49ers in our top 5 teams when we did that ranking. So I'm not surprised there. Had a feeling you were going to do that. With the 49ers, not the 49ers, with the Cardinals, right? I know we just touched on it a little bit, but I touched on Kyler. So with the rest of the team around them, and I don't think so. Yeah, D-Hop is a big loss, right? Obviously, even for me. You guys have him ranked in your top 10. I have him in my top 5 receivers in the league right now. But they still have AJ Green, a veteran receiver. He proved to be a big get last year. He performed very well, not like AJ Green of old, but he performed pretty well for his age and what he's been doing lately for the Bengals in his last years. They did add Marquise Brown, and he's coming off a career year, 1,000 yards plus. He's a burner. He seems to be pretty freaking excited to play with Kyler Murray, so he's gonna have to fill in that role for D-Hop right there. They got James Conner, solid starting run. They lost Chase Edmonds to Miami, I believe, right?
Yeah.
But James Conner seems to be a touchdown machine in his 2 best seasons. I forget off the top of my head. I think it was 12 touchdowns with the Steelers and then 16 last year with the Cardinals, and that's only rushing. I think he's got even a couple more receiving touchdowns there.
He had 18 last year. I want to say one thing about James Conner. This is what I'm really worried about. James Conner was awesome and incredible for them in the red zone, but he's not a 3-down back. And this last season, Chase Edmonds had almost 1,000 yards, had 900. He had well over 150 touches, well over 150 rushes. Without him in the fold, their backup is Darrell Williams. I don't know if that's going to be the one to spell James Conner because, newsflash, last time he was a 3-down back in Pittsburgh, he couldn't stay healthy. And if that's your main back and he's not available, this Cardinals offense is going to look completely different next year. They have so many weapons on the outside between AJ, who had almost 1,000 yards last year, 848, and he had 16 yards per reception, which is pretty good given the fact he's 33. Then you also add into the fold Marquise Brown. I think in a pass-first offense this year, Marquise could have another career year playing with his former guy in college and Kyler, and especially considering the fact Diop won't be there. He's going to be their main target to start the season. You still got not Andy Isabel. We're not going to talk at length about him, but last year drafted Rondale Moore. That's another burner. So there's more than enough weapons on the outside. You have Zach Ertz in the middle as well, which I think is absolutely huge for them, having a legitimate tight end. When was the last time the Cardinals had a relevant tight end? I can't remember in my lifetime.
Can't remember, yeah.
It's been a while. That being said, I think James Conner is the X factor here. If he doesn't stay healthy, this Cardinals team is missing the playoffs. He is that important to them. The red zone especially. If you're going to be missing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, it's one thing if you still have a couple of weapons that can kind of hold you over. But in order to actually win 3 of those games, we're going to talk about their schedule in a brief moment, James Conner must give them a good 14 games.
That's actually what I wanted to get into, if you're cool with it, the schedule.
Yeah.
Because all those things that you just mentioned. So the first game of the season is against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh, let me pull up the schedule right now. Is that at home or is that away?
That's at home, I believe.
I got the Chiefs in that game. I got the Chiefs winning that.
Brandon?
Yep. No, yeah, I have the Chiefs winning that game. Yeah, I would disagree with John in terms of James Conner being that important to this team.
Really?
Yeah, because listen, he's a good starting caliber running back. He's not going to blow you away though. If he gets hurt, you could replace his production
with who
in free agency, huh?
In the middle of the season,
somewhere, huh? Yeah,
with
running
who?
backs
David
are
Johnson?
easy, huh?
He is so necessary to this team. You can't just replace the 18 touch. He was only giving you 3.7 yards a carry, but in the red zone, he was at times when D-Hop was out, their most important offensive player after Kyler. That's how relevant he was to finish off a drive.
You can find red zone players to score touchdowns.
Can you name me some in the free agent market? Because there aren't a whole lot.
I don't have the free agency market off the top of my head, but I know that there's good veteran running backs on the free agency market. There always are. Every year, there's good veteran running backs going into the middle of the season that people can just pick up and plug and play.
Yeah,
they always say running backs are the easiest position to just plug and go. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I have to agree with Brandon on that one. That I feel like the running back position is probably the most replaceable position in the NFL today. There's very few. There's outliers obviously to that, like a Derrick Henry.
Yeah, like a Christian McCaffrey. If he gets put down, then it's Alvin Kamara.
The difference is those teams had their options. The Panthers drafted Hubbard. They have their guys going into training camp in the season. With the Cardinals, you already lost Chase Edmonds. If you then lose your Pro Bowl back, who was one of the best free agent signings last season, your running game is going to be completely different. In the red zone, they're going to have so much more difficulty trying to finish off a drive with 7 points.
We've seen the Cardinals in years prior, recent history, when their running backs go down, they brought in a Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, just to name a few, and I know there's more came in and gave him pretty damn good production.
Well, so they had Kenyon Drake, and James Conner was much better this last season. He was a whole level
I know
up
that we're not arguing James Conner's not better than these guys. We're saying that James Conner is not leaps and bounds. Like if you lose, like he's not on Christian McCaffrey's level or Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. You can find a guy to give you similar production or just under his production. He's not the biggest issue with me is go ahead, Justin.
No, I was gonna say I know John asked for free agent running backs, and there's some ones that I see that aren't really slouches that I feel like you might be able to plug into the offense. A Latavius Murray, a Devontae Freeman, a Carlos Hyde, who's been very underrated, I feel like, over the last couple of years. Tariq Cohen, while he's not your starting back, he's not giving you 3 downs.
Gurley's still a free agent, I know that.
I mean, David Johnson is still out there. I mean, I don't expect them to have that same level of production. I think the best two were the first two I mentioned, and Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman, if you're going to plug one in. But
Yeah. So for me, the biggest hurdle for the Cardinals is D Hop missing the first 6 games of the season.
Really?
And I think they did
They got an even
not a
bigger
great
one than
job,
me.
huh?
They got an even bigger one on my end. I think there's a much bigger one, but you can continue. I
Okay.
want to chime in
Well,
after.
no, go ahead. What's the
No, I want
bigger
you to continue.
hurdle?
I'll get you after. It's on the defensive side of the ball, so I want to cover the offense first.
Okay, well, I mean, I was just gonna repeat what I said. Like they didn't do a great job, but they did as good a job as they could with replacing him by getting a Marquise Brown. So, their O line is very good. I mean, you got Beecham and Humphreys at the tackles, and Rodney Hudson at center, and Justin. Is it Pugh or Pugh?
Phew.
Yeah, that's the
Pugh.
former.
Okay, so yeah, they got Justin Pugh, our boy JQ's guy from the New York Giants. That's a little foreshadowing for next week's NFL
Yeah,
episode.
another one, Will Hernandez, right? They got two former Giants in there.
They might, they
They
might, they
signed Will
might.
Hernandez. Yeah.
Yeah, but I look at that O line. So Kyler's going to be well protected there. And if you want to jump in on the defensive side of the ball, John, go right ahead.
Well, they lost Chandler Jones,
Yeah,
and I don't think there's any replacing one of the best edge rushers
no.
in the NFL. And he's going to be turning 32 soon, or he's already 32. He's going to be turning 33. But that was a guy who he was hurt in 2020 and barely played, only game 5 games. But the year before, he was leading the league in forced fumbles. This last season had 11 sacks, 10 and a half, and what was it, 15 games? I think they're going to have a really tough time defensively without him. I think the X factor for them would be a guy who speaking of 2020, they drafted pretty highly in Isaiah Simmons. He's been a player who's had moments, he's had flashes. They're trying to figure out how to use him, whether it's at safety, whether it's at linebacker. He was labeled as the most versatile linebacker slash defensive player in that class. That is their X factor this season. You lose Chandler Jones, you're going to need him to step up and not just be a starter, but a legitimate game changer for them on that side of the ball. Because the offense, I expected to end the season to be much better this year. I think you've seen the progression from 3 to 5 to 8 wins. And this last season, they won, it was 10 games, or it was 11, because they started off 7-0. I think
So,
off.
oh, okay. Yeah, just to jump on that Chandler Jones point, like when I was looking at their defensive line, I went like, "Ooh, this is not good." Like you got JJ Watt, but JJ Watt is not even like
Available half the
Can't
time.
count
half
on
of
it.
it.
Yeah.
He's not even half of what he used to be, though, even when he's on the field. Like, yes, last year he only played 7 games, but even when he was healthy 2 seasons ago for Houston, for 16 games, he didn't produce that well. JJ Watt to me is I liken him to when New England signed James Harrison for that 1 year, and he was more of just like a veteran player who used to be a dominant elite player who could come in and make big plays here and there, especially in the later season and during the
Could give him
postseason.
some scoops in the
So,
playoffs too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead,
So
Justin.
I
Second
still
team.
believe J.J. Watt has way more left in the tank than what James Harrison did when he got to New England. So I do
Yeah, but he's
believe.
not going
I'm
to
in
be an
agreement.
every
Yeah,
down
no, I
guy.
don't expect him to be an all-pro player that he was in the
Also,
back
Justin,
in the day.
they're only relying on JJ Watt basically on that D line.
Mm.
Like he's the only one of value that you can look at. Like, other guys are just guys. Let's be honest, you
Yeah.
know. So and if you're putting that much stock in JJ Watt right now, it's just he's not what he used to be.
He's 33. In the last 6 years, he's only played over 8 games twice
Yeah.
since 2015. Think about that.
Yeah, and like I said, 2 seasons ago when he was healthy, the whole season for Houston, I think he only had 6 sacks. It's just the production's not there even when he is healthy. But I do agree with John that Isaiah Simmons needs to have a breakout year this year. Um, he when he was drafted, this guy was looked at as an athletic freak of nature. I mean, just to let he's 6'4", 238 pounds. I seen this and I was just like, he's listed as a linebacker, defensive end, cornerback, safety. He's played all these positions. He ran a 4.39 40, had a 39-inch vert and an 11-foot broad jump, which is just absolutely insane when you look at the averages for the positions that he plays. It's crazy. He needs to take a jump this year and prove to everybody that he's not just physical characteristics he can produce on the football field at an elite level, because that's what they're expecting the Arizona Cardinals. Um, the defensive backfield is a question mark for me. I mean, I love Buda Baker. I love the name too.
Great
But
name.
he's the only real standout in that secondary. I mean, they've got him at safety, so he's the quarterback for that defensive backfield. But he's going to be having to work a little bit of overtime this season with the guys around him.
Yeah, I just think this defense. Ooh, Vance Joseph has a good amount of work to do because I was saying before, the Cardinals, they've consistently won more and more games. They went from 3 to 5, 8 to 11. So each season they've won from 2 or 3 plus wins. I think that stops this season. I expect this team, we're going to want to jump into their schedule right now, the entire thing.
You can
We
hit
will.
us with a couple
Yep.
games. Yeah, go ahead.
When you look at what their offense has done, I think that the limiting factor on this team is what the defense can do. And the defense just isn't good enough to win games. And I don't think they're drafted well enough. Zaven Collins, he was a player they drafted, just didn't have a big enough impact this last season as a rookie. Only started 6 games. Can he be a full-time starter now that Chandler Jones is gone? He can step up and fill a bigger role because, like I said before, Steve Keim, I don't think he's done a good enough job in the draft outside of Kyler Murray. I think Marquise Brown was a really good pickup with that first-round pick. Just because of the fact that's a legitimate starter with Pro Bowl upside, and you haven't gotten that the last few seasons outside of Kyler. So we're gonna take a deep dive into their schedule. I'm gonna list you guys off the teams. So week 1, they play the Chiefs at home. I had them losing that.
No, I'm with you. I have them losing that one.
Then week 2, they go to Las Vegas. That's a tough game. Week 2.
That's an L.
425. That's one of those games. I feel like the Raiders, whenever they play at 425, they're beating my Steelers. So I think they're gonna have a crazy game. I got the Raiders as well. I think
I'd
with
favor
that
the
D-Hop.
Cardinals.
Okay. Then they got the Rams right after at home.
Favor the Rams.
That's an L.
I got them winning that game. I can see Kyler having himself. They start off 0-2. Kyler has a big time game. Week 4, they got Baker and the boys in Carolina at Carolina.
That's a W.
I think it's a close one. I got the
It's
Cardinals.
a tough game. It's in Carolina. I couldn't call that game right now because I would have to see how the Panthers start off this season.
God, disgust. Come on. All right.
I think
Yeah,
we
serious.
go.
The
I
Panther-
think we.
I mean,
that'll
we
be a
haven't
good game.
covered the NFC South yet, but when we get to it, you're gonna look at the Carolina Panthers and you're gonna say, well, "This is a really good team."
I think that'll be a
So-
close one. But I got the Cardinals. Then they got right after Philadelphia at home.
We'll take Philadelphia.
Yeah, I like Philly this year, man.
I see them going
think
on
they're-
a not to jump ahead, but I see them going on a win streak after that Carolina. Like I see them beating not like I said not, but the Eagles. I see them beating. I see them beating the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, the Seahawks again, and then I see an L for the Rams.
Yeah, I would agree with
Going
you. I
late
think
in the
after that
season.
week 5 game, week 6 at Seattle, I got them winning that. Week 7 in New Orleans, or at home versus New Orleans, I got them taking that. Then in Minnesota, I think the Vikings are winning 10, 11 games. That's a tough game on the road. I'm taking.
You know, when I look at their schedule right now, I'm looking at the first 6 games. I think best case scenario for them trying to navigate life without D Hop, either they end up 3-3 or they're going 2-4. I don't see them coming out.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, you're playing
500.
3 legitimate playoff teams, and then the Eagles and the Panthers, who aren't going to be. If Baker's hitting his low, that'll be a pretty crappy team, but I think Baker will be fine to start the season with a healthy and available CMC. So I think that's a tough game without D Hop. So like you said, I think it's more likely to start off 2-4 than 4-2. I just see no possibility they win 4 games without him. So yeah, I mean 3-3 would be the best case scenario likely right there. But then once you get D Hop back, I think they're going on a 5-game win streak. Honestly, if they can just beat the Vikings week 8 on the road, yeah, that's Seattle, New Orleans, Minnesota, Seattle, again, and then you got the Rams though. So probably a 4-game win streak. Week 10 you got Los Angeles on the road. Then week 11, San Francisco at home. Those are 2 tough games because right after them you got the Chargers, Patriots, Broncos, Buccaneers, and the Falcons, and the 49ers again.
That's
Yeah.
a tough way to end the
Ooh,
season.
Jesus.
That is not an easy schedule.
Yeah, but if we look at it entirety, I mean, I don't know what divisions they play because I could, but I would actually. So they're probably
There's
playing the
the
AFC West.
NFC
They're playing the
South.
AFC West and South. That's a tough row ahead because you got the AFC West, who I think we all agree is the best division in football. So you're gonna have to play four playoff caliber teams right there.
Mhm.
And then you got your own division, which is, stacked as it is. So but jumping off the Cardinals, I want to get to a point that Justin made earlier about the Rams, who I think we all can agree is winning this division. He said that this defense is scary, and like that they've spent this money, and he looks at other teams that aren't spending the money. Well, they're spending the money. They put it all into these elite players, right? Their best players are getting all this money, right? But then when you look at the depth of the team, it's really lacking in certain areas.
That's the way they're
Uh,
built.
huh?
I think that's the way that, just to jump in
That
real
that's
quick.
that is the way they're built. This is a star-driven team. The best players are some of, if not the best players in the league, right? But I believe in Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's validated now as an elite quarterback, top 5 in the league in my opinion after winning a Super Bowl champion. You still got Triple Crown champ and Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl MVP Cooper Cup. You added a really good number 2 target in Allen Robinson. Cam Akers is going to hopefully be back and healthy. Got Daryl Henderson still as the backup or to start if Cam Akers is still dealing with the Achilles. You got Tyler Higbee, who's a solid starting tight end. The O line could use some work, but like I said, you lost Whitworth. That's a big loss in my opinion. But some positions are going to suffer when you're paying all the money to every other position. So the O line is just one of the things that's going to have to suffer.
Like you said with
Uh,
the sorry, you continue.
yeah. So like I was saying, but that's on when you do that and you spend all these money on the elite positions. That's on now the coaches and the players themselves. The coaches got to coach these players up to get their full potential and the best that they can out of them, and the players just have to overachieve, in my opinion, because you're putting on the field a bunch of late round picks, undrafted players and whatnot, not getting a lot of money, so they have to overachieve in those areas. I love like Justin touched on earlier. The defense is led by Bobby Wagner, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey, and Aaron Donald. That's the defense right there, basically. So I mean, if you look at last year, their defense was really good. Adding Bobby Wagner to that mix is just going to make it better because now they have that middle guy right there. So now on each level of the field on defense, they have an elite player, game changer. You have 3 game changers on your defense, you're going to be okay. Jalen Ramsey is easier to freeze out of the game basically because he's going to be playing on one side. So you can basically say in your game plan, okay, we can shut him out for most of the game, not really go to his side, and we can still work everything else in the field. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to take a look at. Not much you can do with Jalen just playing one side. I still just look at the Rams and I just say, like I said, the best players on this team are some of the best, if not the best players in the game. So I'm not going to sleep on them. And final point is they still have Sean McVay, Super Bowl champion, offensive genius. He's one of the best coaches in the game. I believe in these Los Angeles Rams.
You talked about their lack of depth. That's exactly how this team is managed. They're one of those teams that analytically has really leaned into the managing of players' workloads, and you'll read articles. They'll basically end a player for the day if he's walking too much. They've really taken it seriously in terms of managing and monitoring each and every single player. That way, all of those stars do stay healthy, especially the older ones. You bring in Bobby Wagner. Matthew Stafford's, 34 years old. His backup's John Walford, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's
Yeah.
his. The point being, since 2015, I was just reading it. This is one of the teams that's been injured the least. I looked at the Steelers last year. They had a groin bug going around nonstop all over their defense. You don't see that in Los Angeles. Sure, there may be a torn ACL or a torn Achilles, like we saw Cam Akers and Odell Beckham, but those aren't the nagging injuries, the growing pains that go on through a season. That's just like, holy cow, you can make a wrong turn, you tweak something, and you're gone for a while. With them, I think they've done an incredible job managing the health of their players. I don't know if there's been a team that's done any better. Look at the Niners; they've been horrible at that. They haven't called a break almost. Look at this Rams team; it's a completely different story. A lot of people have talked about Bobby Wagner kind of falling off with age. Last year, he still had 170 tackles, which is nuts. he's getting up there in age, and I do wonder. He probably has taken a step back with him consistently over the years being an elite level linebacker, getting older. I do wonder if he's really going to be that absolute star that they brought him in to be. I think for them, they're expecting a good amount out of him. And like I said, he's been a tackle machine over the last 10 years. He's been in the NFL, but with age, you don't know if that's going to continue to regress, or maybe they're able to preserve him a little bit with what I just talked about before. Because I think either could be the case.
But him playing with Aaron Donald and Ramsey and all these other defensive talents, I don't think you got to ask too much out of him. I don't think he's required to do too much as he was
around
in
there.
Seattle.
And talk about Allen Robinson. That's the other player they brought in to replace Robert Woods. They need him to be better than he was last year with Justin Fields, and I have no concern that he will be better than what he was last year because that Bears offense was so terrible. And sure, they had Darnell Mooney playing off of them, but defenses were locked in on him. Now he gets to play off of Cooper Kupp, Triple Crown guy. I mean, he's playing with the best quarterback of his career. You look at what he's had to deal with, Ellen. I mean, the poor guy from Jacksonville to Chicago, he never had a true Pro Bowl quarterback. Mitch Trubisky, I'm not counting that, even if I am a Steelers fan. Now he finally gets not just a starter, but one of the top 10 to 12 guys at the position. And he's playing on the best offense of his career.
Top 10, 12 guys. Let's give this guy his credit.
Stafford?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like top 9. Maybe he's 10 to 12. I mean, that's where he is. What? Are we overrating him? He won a Super Bowl? I mean, were people throwing Joe Flacco and Nick Foles into the top end discussion because they won?
Joe
I think
Flacco
Stafford
wasn't throwing 41 touchdowns and 4,800.
Well, he also his lows are among the lowest of any starting quarterback. He has 3 or 4 games a year.
He was in a brand new system, had to learn on the fly this year, and look what he did.
But throughout his entire career, he's had 3 or 4 weeks a season. You're like, geez, his lows are low, his highs are high. I think
the Detroit Lions.
And we're just going to discount everything he did the previous 11 years.
No, I'm just saying that's a pretty damn good excuse for why he's not playing up to his standards when his coach is Jim Schwartz for most of his years.
Okay, I think he's top 12. I mean, we're nitpicking here. They're all in the same group. I really don't care that much about the discussion over that. He's right there. So for Allen Robinson, he came to play on the best offense of his career, the best quarterback he's ever going to have. I think for him playing as number 2 now, there's so much less pressure on him. He can just be kind of the number 2 that they need. After Robert Woods and Odell both got hurt, I think for him this is the best opportunity he's ever going to be given. So I'm happy for him. He's finally playing a legitimate Super Bowl contender because he hasn't had that in some time.
Yeah, no, I think the Rams are legit, man. Just top to bottom, and you already touched on depth. But if everybody's healthy, if their star players are healthy, if Stafford is healthy, and I believe in a second year in the system, that interception number is going to drop a bit. I could see him still throwing for close to 5,000 yards. I could still see him reaching high 30s, maybe 40 touchdowns with A-Rob on the outside. I do think Van Jefferson takes a step up as well. Cooper Kupp is going to be Cooper Kupp. So I don't know. I really just sit here and I look at that Rams team, and there's not too many people better than it from top to bottom. And even with injuries that take place, somebody always steps up for them and at any given moment. So with all those stars, there'll be somebody to emerge, and maybe they'll develop a new one,
One thing I want to touch on, Allen Robinson tore his ACL the one year the Jaguars were good, and he only played 1 game in 2017. So for him, I think this is awesome going to a team where you're not just a Super Bowl contender, but you're the defending champ. And last year he was awful. I mean, 34 yards a game after having 1,000 plus the last 2 years is really bad. I was not happy with him. I think I drafted him in fantasy football. So yeah, I mean, you can't be worse than 34 yards a game, even in this offense where Cooper Kupp is the main focal. But yeah, I think for him this is amazing. I'm really happy for him to get out of Chicago. Damn, this is awesome. Even Bobby Wagner too, get himself another Super Bowl.
Well, this is a Ram team that I think could win. They won 12 games, I believe, last year. I could see them even winning more, possibly. Another year altogether. I think it'll be better.
With a 9 to 12 best quarterback in the NFL, 100%. Yeah. So
that's what he is, man. You disagree? He's top 8? No, he's not.
No, he's top 5. Okay, he's proved it. I don't know. I mean, but then again, you don't value Super Bowl championships, so you have Justin Herbert probably ahead of him.
That's
not even proven in the NFL more than Matthew
Stafford's lows, right? I don't have him anywhere near my top 5. He's 10.
Justin Herbert has just as many lows as Matthew
Well, he was in
Stafford.
his first year playing Bill Belichick, and he
That's
just
not-
had a historical rookie year and an amazing second season. It was even better. Way
Well,
better
Matthew
than
Stafford just won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. For the
Herbert
first time
didn't
in
have
his
an
career,
offensive
he
line
played
or an offensive coordinator his
for-
first year in the NFL, and the best rookie
for the
season
first
I've ever
time
seen.
in his career. He actually played with a team that cared about winning, and look what he did.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
he's
saying.
playing on an awesome team. I mean, as long as he can be
You
pretty
need
good,
an
they're
awesome
gonna make
team
the
to win a
playoffs.
championship.
That was the team that went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. I mean, I'm not discounting Matthew Stafford, but that was a really good team regardless.
And how many points did they score in that Super Bowl, John?
Well, Todd Gurley just didn't
They
do
scored
anything.
3 points because Jared Goff couldn't get the job done. So they had to get rid of Jared Goff to get Matthew Stafford.
But they had no
who
running game.
now
That's their
proved
role
that
either.
if you have an elite quarterback at the position, look what he did. I'm just saying, though.
I mean, he's like
I
10 to
do
12.
think it's a little disrespectful to have him 10 to 12. I do think he's easily a top 8. I forgot my quarterback ranking. I think we did this already, but
We did
I had
top
him pretty
5.
high. Yeah.
I've got my rankings in my notes. I mean, if you want to have him above Justin Herbert, just won a Super Bowl, sure, but that team's even better if they have Herbert on it. They would be better.
No, they
Insane.
wouldn't.
Okay. All right.
He doesn't have the experience or the leadership or the veteran presence that Matthew Stafford has. I think you forget Matthew Stafford has some of the best comebacks in his career. I think since he was drafted or something like that, he leads the league in NFL comebacks.
Yeah, he's up there. I'm not forgetting. I know Matthew Stafford's very good. I'm trying to pull up my rankings right now. Okay.
Elite.
Yeah, I would call him elite. I have Lamar ahead of him. I have Burrow right next to him.
Lamar's ahead of him. Lamar has struggles throwing the football.
He's an NFL MVP, my man. He was hurt this last season. He's a winner. He's won
Because
way
he's
more
a dual
games.
threat.
Yeah.
Take
And the
away the
value of
legs.
that.
What is Lamar Jackson?
But you can't take away the legs. He's amazing.
I'm just saying,
He's the best running quarterback
that's why he
we've
was
ever
MVP,
seen.
though. I don't think he should have been MVP.
They won 14 games that year. What do you mean he shouldn't have won MVP? Took Stafford years to make 14 wins. You kidding me?
He struggles throwing the football. When
They
you
didn't even have the
struggle throwing
weapons on the
football,
outside. He's gotten better and
I'm not
better each
gonna-
year.
The year that he won MVP, it wasn't even debatable, Brandon.
He does, but you even argued yourself that he doesn't need weapons on the outside.
Well, in the
Who, Lamar?
playoffs, he does to raise the team's ceiling. The team's floor for Lamar is automatically a playoff team, but to win a
The
Super Bowl,
playoffs, he needs the elite weapons
to win a Super Bowl, you need weapons. I mean, any team. That's
So then that
obvious.
goes to my point where you said Matthew Stafford's on an awesome team. Well, you need an awesome team to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm saying quarterbacks, like, winning's not a quarterback stat. There's so much more that goes into
Yes,
it.
it is.
It's not-
And
it's
we
not-
need to
it's not
have this
basketball.
debate later on at some point where you guys think that quarterback's not a winning stat. I don't know how you could think that when we're in the era of quarterbacks, and if you don't have an elite
Alright.
quarterback, you're not winning a Super Bowl.
So is Joe Flacco, he's a Super Bowl MVP. Was he top 10 when he won a Super Bowl MVP?
No,
But he won the Super Bowl. He did it at the highest level,
that's
right?
a fluke, though. He did it once.
How about Eli Manning? He did it twice. Was he a top 10 quarterback to you?
Have we talked about Eli Manning before? And we're not going to get into that debate before. I've laid out my argument on Eli Manning, and you
Yeah.
guys have agreed he's not a top 10 quarterback in the league.
But he won a Super Bowl. I
At
mean,
his
that's
house.
where you're going off.
Okay, he won a Super Bowl. What did he do for those other 14 seasons then? Do we really want to get into that? What did
We're
he do
not-
for those other
All
14
right,
seasons?
we still got 2 more teams to preview.
That's what I'm saying, though. But you want to bring up Eli Manning and compare him to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, talent level and as a quarterback is better than, I won't say leaps and bounds. That's a little disrespectful, but he's better
I got
than
Stafford
Eli
at 9.
Manning. He's leaps and bounds better than Joe Flacco as a quarterback.
Yeah,
That's not
I
even
agree.
debatable.
I mentioned them because you're talking about Super Bowl MVPs. I'm telling you, quarterback
He
winning
didn't
stats
win a
is a
Super Bowl
quarterback stat.
MVP. Cooper Cup won the Super Bowl. I'm
How
saying
about Flacco? I know
Look,
Stafford
I know.
not win.
look at the transition the Los Angeles Rams made when they got Matthew Stafford.
I'm not. I mean, he's awesome. I was not saying top 8. This is all right, who is better, Patrick Mahomes, or Matthew Stafford?
I'll take Mahomes.
Josh
Oh.
Allen or Matthew Stafford? Oh, sorry, I cut you
Matthew Stafford.
off. Justin. Patrick Mahomes or
Hold
Matthew
on. Repeat that?
Pat Mahomes or Matthew Stafford? I cut you off.
Yeah, Mahomes. Now, what was the second
Josh
one?
Allen or Matthew Stafford?
Matthew Stafford.
Josh Allen.
Tom Brady or Matthew Stafford?
Tom.
Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford?
Aaron Rodgers.
Rogers.
Russell Wilson or Matthew Stafford?
Stafford.
I take Stafford, but Russell Wilson's number 5 on my list.
Whew, okay. Deshaun Watson took a very bad team in Houston to the playoff.
He's right
That's not
outside
true.
my
He took
top
a
5.
team in
Like I
Houston to
said,
the playoffs. It wasn't a whole lot better
my
than those
entire
other
top
teams.
5 are Super Bowl champions. That's what's consistent in my list. My top 5 in the league right now are all Super Bowl
So then,
champions.
like I said
Yeah,
before,
I
Joe
just
Flacco
don't
would have been
think
one of the
that-
top quarterbacks.
No, because he's also not putting up the stats to back up the Super Bowl championship talk. That's what you're missing, John. You're just looking at the Super Bowl championship. I'm not just saying the Super Bowl championship. It goes without saying that these guys are putting up elite numbers. Joe Flacco stop bringing up Joe Flacco. He was never putting up elite numbers unless he was in that one postseason run that he did.
Well, he
okay,
had 39.
Matthew Stafford's putting up elite numbers year in and year out.
He had 3,900 plus yards 4 different times in his career.
Who?
Joe Flacco. He had 3,800 in 2012, 3,900.
3,800 is laughable in today's NFL.
Yeah, we could stop with the Joe Flacco stuff. There's no debate. There's no debate between.
It really is. That's so disrespectful to Matthew Stafford to keep bringing up Joe Flacco just because they're both Super Bowl champions.
I'm not
when
comparing.
You know that it's stupid because the stats.
You're putting words into my mouth. I'm not comparing the two of them. What I'm saying is, if Joe Flacco, if you're gonna have all of your top 5 quarterbacks be Super Bowl MVPs, then Joe Flacco, who was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, should have been your top 12.
No, because it goes without. You're not getting my point. You're only hearing what you want to hear. It goes without saying that they're Super Bowl champions, and look behind it. They've got the elite stats at a quarterback position to back that up. That goes without saying with those guys.
I'm with Brandon on one thing. I'm not with you with the Super Bowls. Super Bowls aren't the only deciding factor in everything. I think we got to throw that out because Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback, and he can easily slide into a top 5 spot at any moment. He doesn't need to win the Super Bowl to show that. But Matt Stafford, at the end of the day, said, sorry, John, but he did play with the Detroit Lions. Okay, and that was a team that didn't surround him with all the talent that he needed to.
He had one of the best receivers in NFL history.
Who retired early because
he played for the Detroit Lions.
Had him for 7
years.
He
retired early because the team was that trash. Think about that. 2 Hall of Fame players retired early because the team surrounding them was so bad. Let that sink in for a second.
Barry Sanders didn't play Matthew Stafford.
No, but I'm just saying in the career of the history of the Detroit Lions. You get what I'm saying?
I'm totally right. I'm just saying he still played with Calvin Johnson for the start of his career.
He did play with Calvin Johnson.
And then after that.
Yeah, Golden Tate and Kenny Galladay, who he elevated.
Yeah, he did.
With a coach like Jim Schwartz.
Top 5.
With a coach like Jim Schwartz.
Jim Caldwell, even though
Jim Caldwell was good, and we can get into that later point. He should have never been fired, but he got fired early after they went 10-6.
We could highlight Matt Patricia.
Can we go on to the next team in the AC North?
Freaking Coach Pencil. Coach Pencil was coaching Matthew Stafford. All right, but we can move on. We're going to go from an elite quarterback to a quarterback that I do not believe in, and we'll bring it back to the San Francisco 49ers, okay? I look at this team, and I'm going to sound redundant again, but I really like the 49ers team in its entirety, right? Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, the running back core. I just want to get all these guys right. Hasty, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson, and rookie Tyrion Davis Prince, I believe I'm saying the 3rd round pick out of LSU. They still got a good O-line led by Trent Williams, who's arguably the best left tackle in the game. The defensive line is stacked with talent. They got 4 former first-round picks in Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, D Ford, and Javon Kinlaw, and 2 second-round picks in I want to get the Kamoko Toure and Drake Jackson, who's a rookie this year from USC. The linebackers could use some work, but they still got their middle piece, their leader, in Fred Warner. Secondary is all right. I mean, they retained Jason Verrett, but he hasn't been healthy like at all for his entire career, and he's coming off a torn ACL. They signed Charvarius Ward from the KC. He was arguably their best corner in KC, but that's not saying much because KC's cornerbacks were always lacking. They still have Jimmy Ward, who hasn't lived up to his first-round potential, but he's been a consistent starter at safety.
I was just one of the better starting safeties.
Yeah. I'm not going to discredit that, but he hasn't really, like, you know what I mean? Like, but I won't be too disrespectful there. I could agree with that, John. I love Kyle Shanahan as a coach. I believe in him. But again, what I don't believe in is Jimmy G. And just like we've talked about in the past, just like we talked about with Miami and Tua, Minnesota and Kirk, Tennessee and Tannehill, and Tua a degree for me, Vegas and Carr. I love the teams, but I don't believe in the quarterback, and that's a major concern for me.
Well, who will
When,
be the
when
quarterback?
well, that I was going to get into that. So if we go with Jimmy, right? If Jimmy's going to start, he can't stay healthy, and he's got inconsistent play. I know Justin likes to call him he's a winner. He wins, but
It's been a winning
he's
team everywhere he goes.
yeah. And in terms of his injuries, he only played 16 games once and 15 games once. His other seasons, he played 2 out of the 4 games in New England, and we've heard the comments from Martellus Bennett and Julian Edelman clearing those up about how players in that locker room looked at Jimmy Garoppolo a different way. Like, bro, you're not going to play through your injury. And that's what I was saying to you guys about Baker Mayfield. That goes to my point. You're going to win camaraderie from your teammates, and they looked at him differently. And Julian Edelman even goes into it on the I Am Elite podcast where he says Jacoby Brissett was playing with a torn ligament in his thumb in his throwing hand, I believe, when he came in for Jimmy Garoppolo. So a lot of players lost respect for him that year. He played 3 games in 2018 for San Francisco, 6 in 2020 for San Francisco. Bro, you go down, man. You can't stay healthy, and your inconsistent play is not going to be a tool for winning. And then we go into, like John said, who's going to be the quarterback? Is it going to be if we go on Trey Lance's terms? He's such a project.
He
Like when he was coming,
one game in the last 4 years, or one season, excuse me, in the last 4 years, because 2020 he only played one game. It was before he was selected, and he only
yeah,
had 1 year starting at North Dakota, right?
yeah, 1 year starting, and he's such a when he came out, people were saying this is going to be like a 2 to 3, maybe even 4 year project where he's got to sit under him. And now they're talking about getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and throwing this guy into the Wolves, who I think we saw last season. Yeah, we saw some raw talent. We also saw those terrible mistakes that he is not ready for the NFL yet. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if he's ever going to be ready for the NFL. Because if we look at that draft class, right? And I think John touched on it earlier. So not every quarterback's going to hit, man. These quarterbacks you're going to look at, and you got to look at it. Maybe 2, borderline 3 are going to hit good, and 2 are going to be possibly great. But the rest of them are going to be the busts, and you got to start looking at them. For me, I don't see. I see Trevor Lawrence being great, Mac Jones being a solid starting caliber quarterback, possibly getting a Pro Bowl caliber, and who are the other 2? Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, I believe, right?
Davis Mills is also in there.
Yeah, but that's your boy, but whatever. So if we look at Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, those 2 guys, I like Justin Fields' arm talent. He's got to learn how to play professional quarterback. And Justin Fields, the talent surrounding him in Chicago is not going to be productive towards winning. So if you look at it, I don't know if Trey Lance is going to be the guy. I don't.
But like I touched on, I think in our last episode, we talked about those rookie quarterbacks. The 2 most important things are you have a quality offensive line. You have a coach that's going to build around you. It's going to have a good scheme. You're going to have playmakers. That's kind of the third layer to that. If you're protected, they know how to play with you and utilize your skill set. And then also you're surrounded with talents. It's really hard for a quarterback to fail. You look at all those guys we kind of talked about loosely, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold. Their confidence fell off a cliff because in their rookie years, they had nothing to work with. Trey Lance comes in. He has a top 10 receiver in Tebow Samuel. Brandon Ayuk, who I think will be a breakout receiver this year, regardless almost. And then along with that, you have one of the most stable running games in the NFL. No matter who it is, it's always going to be churning. You're always going to get production. You're going to have some of the best offensive linemen. You're going to have Kyle Shanahan as your head coach. You're going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think it's really hard to say that Trey Lance, even if he isn't quite ready for the NFL, isn't going to have a fine rookie or a fine de facto rookie season if he starts this season because they're surrounding him with everything he needs. And there's one player here who I like a lot for them. Ray McCloud last year in Pittsburgh was their second biggest target in the offense because Ben's arm was neutralized. And as the year went on, when it got cold, Ray was reliable. He had a few catches in our game against the Ravens that got us right into the postseason, where he was taking hard hits on third down. And like Deontay Johnson, we could fully trust him to secure the ball and move the chains. And beyond that, he's one of the better returners in the NFL. For the Steelers, I got queasy every single time he fielded one because he almost never would not field it, and he had probably 3 or 4 muffs. muffed punts, and best believe my heart would stop every single time that an opposing team punted because I never trusted Ray McLeod as a returner. Literally returned everything, and this dude's my size, so he would get absolutely. I mean, he would get his clock lit up every single time. Sometimes it was. I'm like, don't return, please don't. And it gets the wind knocked out of him. Like, okay, but as a receiver, the Steelers realized this dude can actually play, and we can actually count him to catch the ball. The punts, he's quick, he's dynamic, a little bit twitchy. You hear that word more and more nowadays. I don't trust him as a returner, though I think he's good there. What really is going to add more value to this offense as a guy in Ray, you can put in the slot, you can move him around, you can give him some carries. And I think for Kyle Shanahan, he's going to get so much more out of him than Pittsburgh did. And I think they're going to use him as a receiver. And quite honestly, for Trey Lance, he's set up in the perfect position to succeed in this offense.
So I'm looking at the 49ers right now, and I'd like to touch on the quarterback situation with you guys. I know we say that wins aren't a QB stat, well, at least me and John do sometimes. But I guess I'm going to harp on this with Jimmy. If Trey Lance isn't ready to go and Jimmy G is healthy, you can't tell me that this team isn't going to win 10 plus games.
I totally agree.
Because they always do. Sure, he's not the electric quarterback that everybody wants. He's not the quarterback that may win you a Super Bowl, but damn, he can bring you pretty damn close. His 2 years of full starting, he went to a Super Bowl and then an NFC Championship game. Like, I honestly, like I said, I'm going to repeat it again. I do not think Jimmy is an elite quarterback, but I do feel like he's probably one of the more disrespected quarterbacks in the league for the simple fact that even if he did go to the Super Bowl this year, does your opinion on Jimmy change? Probably not. Probably not. He could have won the Super Bowl.
I would just jump on that to say that it's not going to change if you tell me that his regular season stats are going to be similar to what he is producing up. And that was my whole point with John is that, man, listen, to be an elite quarterback, it's not just about, I know I say, Super Bowl champion and winning and stuff, but it's also, I think it goes without saying that these guys are putting up elite numbers when I'm saying that. I guess I should be more clear next time. So I'm going to be clear right now with Justin. If Jimmy G goes into this season and let's say he wins the Super Bowl, but his stats are similar to what he's putting up, no, it's not going to really change because he's going to be looked at as a game manager, an average quarterback who dinked and dunked down the field to get, and his team won that Super Bowl and his coach won that Super Bowl more than he did. Like, okay. Jimmy G is going to be, if the 49ers won that Super Bowl.
Jimmy G lost in that Super Bowl.
Yes, he did lose.
Why they lost.
Yeah,
exactly. But I was going to say, if they won, Jimmy G was going to be like the fourth or fifth thing you would bring up on why they won that Super Bowl. Like, it would be defense, running game, coach, receiver, O-line, all well before you even get to Jimmy Garoppolo.
He killed them at the end.
With the Rams and the Bucks and the Packers and the Chiefs and et cetera, you're talking about those quarterbacks, number one or two. Right off the bat, you're going Stafford. You're going Brady is why they won. Rodgers is why they won. Herbert's why they won. Mahomes is why they won. You're never going to go Jimmy G is the reason they won. You'll go Jimmy G is the reason they lost.
I 100% agree. But the team is good enough to win despite his quarterback play.
He was, at the end of that Super Bowl, he was just missing throws. He was not timing plays well or the routes. He was killing them. And I look at the starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
They also had a 10-point lead squandered by the defense at the same time too.
Yeah,
but the Chiefs do that. That's what the Chiefs do though too.
Plays. The issue was guys were getting open and Jimmy wasn't delivering to move the chains.
He wasn't hitting. You're right.
I think I look at the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. They're about 20 plus I'd rather have if I'm Jimmy. I still think the 49ers are as good of a team, if not better. And I mean, we know the top 15. The end of that's kind of Kirk Cousins, Baker, Tannehill, Mack, Wentz. I think with Wentz there's a better team. I think Wentz is way more volatile, but I still think with Wentz they can go to a Super Bowl. Jameis Winston I'd rather have. Jalen Hurts I'd rather have with his running ability. Trubisky I would honestly rather have because Trubisky I think is a little bit better. You look at what Matt Nagy was compared to Kyle Shanahan, and Trubisky was on the same level. I got Mitch over him any day of the week. Jared Goff, I'm taking him as well. I am. That's the last guy I'm taking over him. I think like Wentz, Goff is a little bit more volatile, but overall, I think he's better than Jimmy, especially considering the fact that Jimmy's always dealing with something. I mean, is he throwing football yet? I don't even know.
No,
I don't
no,
know.
no.
But
I know they're
regardless,
seeking to trade him.
I just feel like if he's on the field and he's healthy, you can almost book the 49ers for a trip to the NFC title game.
That's the
Just
second point
craziest
I
thing.
want to hit. It's not just Jimmy staying healthy, but it's the offense. Debo stayed relatively healthy last year compared to his first 2 years in the league. George Kittle's a top 3 tight end. Some people may even have him number 2. Who knows? When he is healthy, in order for this offense to be good enough, they need those two guys to be at their very best. They need them to be reliable. I talked about Brandon Ayuk before. He was in the doghouse to start the year, but the end last season, Brandon Ayuk was on fire. And people have talked a lot about him developing chemistry with Trey Lance. I think that's huge, especially if Debo's not going to be here long term. And honestly, while Ayuk was frustrating to start the year because there was really high expectations for him, he has all the physical tools. He had an awesome end to his rookie year. And to start off, he didn't produce. Last year, he still ended with 15 yards of reception almost, over 800 yards. And I'm about to pull up the stats right now. Do one of you want to jump into their schedule? I'm looking that up.
Sure.
Word.
For the 49ers?
Yep.
Yeah, sure, I know.
Yeah, because, I mean, with that duo of Samuel and Ayuk, the ceiling is so high. But if Debo's not there and you have to rely on Ayuk, I feel a lot more.
Well, we already
queasy
know
about
off
this
the bat
offense.
they're facing the AFC West and the NFC South. So I would say I don't see them beating the Chiefs. I don't see them beating. I see the Chargers beating them. The Raiders and Broncos games are going to be really tough. I see the Bucks beating them, and
You
like
know,
you guys will laugh, but I think the Panthers will give them a good fight.
They start the year. Oh my God, their
Saints
schedule's.
I got the schedule now.
It's easy to start the year.
So
You
I'm
want to jump
saying,
in?
yeah. Week 1, they're at Chicago.
Yeah, they're winning that.
That's a win. Week 2, at home against Seattle.
I got them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the road, week 3 against Denver.
It's a tough game,
That's a tough game.
and it's in Mile High
Denver.
too.
Correct. It's
You gotta go Denver.
Sunday night.
I think I got Denver pulling that one out.
Week 4, at home against the Rams. Mind you, they've beaten the Rams plenty.
I'll take the Rams. And this also you gotta remember is who the hell is starting for them?
I'm going with Jimmy, to be honest.
But yeah, I'm gonna say Jimmy as well.
So if Jimmy's starting, because if Trey Lance is starting, I could see them easily. Who did they have week 2?
Seattle.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm looking at their schedule. After the Rams, you got the Panthers. You may say that's a
Panthers.
tough one, but I see that as a win. Then they got the Falcons, and I see that as another win.
That's a win.
So
But here's the thing: this is
starting
probably
5-1.
like a team that starts off the season really well and then finishes the season not so well. So give me their last 7 games. What are their last 7 or 8 games?
Well, do you want to run through the entire schedule?
Yeah, let's
So
keep going.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. So,
Okay.
all right, we'll pick up right after the Rams. 49ers, Panthers at Panthers.
I got 49ers.
I got the Niners. Brandon?
He has to wait to say. So we'll move on to
Like I
week
say,
6
that'd be a
versus
tough game.
Atlanta in Atlanta. I got them beating Atlanta week 6.
I got them beating Atlanta, and then home against the Chiefs.
This is where the
Gonna
schedule
lose.
for them gets really tough. I got the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs winning on down the road at 4.
I've got the 49ers. Then they away against the Rams in LA.
So the first game, I think they can win at home. I think they split with the Rams. I don't think
I
they're gonna
agree.
win
I
both.
think the Rams sweep them.
Okay,
I think each team defends their home turf.
that's reasonable.
Then home against the Chargers. Sunday night
Chargers.
football.
Not the Chargers.
I think I'll take the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers. Monday night football at Arizona.
I'll take Arizona.
This was a tough one for me. We're covering the Cardinals. I got 49ers, even if D-Hop's back.
Same. I have the 49ers. Home against the Saints.
I could see Jameis winning that one.
It's a tough game.
You'll have Michael Thomas healthy, hopefully, by then, because he's in the pup list right now. I think that Saints offense is going to pick it up toward the end of the year. So,
Well, I like the Niners. Niners versus Dolphins at
Dolphins.
San Francisco. I could see Miami squeezing that out.
Yeah, me too.
Home against the Bucks.
Rams.
Bucks.
Or not
Seahawks.
the Rams. Sorry, wrong team. 49ers. I was
Oh,
thinking
you
of the
picked the
Rams-Bucks
Niners
playoff
over the
game.
Bucks?
Yeah, I think the Rams-Bucks playoff game. But yeah, I got the Niners. I could see them winning that.
49ers at Seattle.
Got them again.
Actually, hold
49ers.
on. Right now. I want us to make our first bet right now. John, I bet you. I don't know what we can talk about what we'll bet later on, but I bet you right now that the Bucks beat the 49ers that game. I'm gonna write it down right now.
I
So
could
what
see
week is that?
That's week 14 at home.
Do you want to take that bet, John?
I'm just not sure about Leonard Fournette in that running game.
Do you want to take that bet? Yes or no? Right now.
Nah, I'm not betting on football.
Okay, you're not taking that. So he's not. He doesn't have the.
But the reason why is because Leonard Fournette came to camp out of shape. I do worry about that running game the Buccaneers.
It's okay. It's okay. I got you. You
I'll have Chris Godwin back by then, but
I'll bet with you that I don't think the Rams sweep the Niners.
Yeah, it's probably a hotter take. Like Justin said,
I'll take that bet.
Has McVay's
I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet.
We'll talk about the details
Rams to sweep 49ers.
I think this 49ers defense is just too good to make that confirmed take. But want to keep going? Week 15, they got Seattle. I got them winning that. 16, they got the Commanders. Oh, sorry. I got the Niners again. Then week 17, they're at Las Vegas.
I like Vegas.
That's a tough one, week 17. It's on New Year's Day, actually. I got Vegas as well. And then on the 8th, week 18, they got the Cardinals.
I think they sweep Arizona.
I think that's going to be a much bigger. I think the 49ers will be in the playoffs by then. I think the Cardinals will be fine for a playoff spot. I got the Cardinals winning that. So for me, they lose the last two games. They beat Tampa Bay 3.
We had this team as a double-digit win team. And that was with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I got this as a 10-win team. 10, 11 wins. I think the ceiling for them is 12. If they stay healthy, Jimmy G's under center, and he gives you 14 games. Maybe Trey Lance gives you some looks week 18. Yeah, especially if Trey Lance is playing week 18 versus the Cardinals, I can see Arizona winning that.
Listen, and I think Elijah Mitchell at running back, I think he's a stud. So, I don't know. I think in all phases of this team, obviously the question's at quarterback, but outside of the QB spot, this team is primed to win. And at any given moment, I think they could beat any team in the NFL.
And the player I want to hit on, Brandon Ayuk, he was, like I said, in the doghouse the first 2 weeks of the season. As the year went on, he continued to get more and more opportunities. Last 10 games of the season, 43 catches, 685 yards, and 4 TDs. That's almost 700 yards. If he can put all of that together for a full 17-week season, we're looking at a guy gaining over 1,000 yards. And that's number 2 point off of Deebo Samuel. It's one of the best receiver tandems in the NFL by far.
Well, so Brandon, where are you at? Niners, number 2 team in the division?
No, I like I said, I have Rams, Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, and then Seattle.
Let's jump into Seattle. I want to start with them. That's a team a lot of people have been very low on because how could you not? You lose Russell Wilson. You get rid of Bobby Wagner. There's the 2 best players of the last decade for the franchise. That's the quarterback of each side of the ball. But I honestly feel like people have been a little bit too disrespectful as to the way they're building with this rebuild. Because, hey, look, Pete Carroll, he's 69, 70 years old. People said 2 years ago he's 68, and I honestly thought he was in his late 50s. I'll keep the buck with you. I never realized that he was actually getting up there in age. And Pete Carroll may not be here for the entire time of the rebuild. Who knows when it'll be finished. But the one thing that I really like with the Seahawks group is they're starting to build out this rushing game. And I think if you're going to bring any young quarterback, you got to do it the right way where you build the offensive line out. They go in the draft, they're drafting tackles. And more specifically, they're going all in this running game. Chris Carson, he had a terrible neck injury where they basically put a metal plate / rod in his neck. I don't know if Chris Carson's going to play again in the NFL. To be quite honest with you, I mean, the neck is a terrifying thing. Or put metal in that through surgery. Yeah, I don't know if he'll be back this season. I'm pretty sure he'd be on the PUP list. To me, this is terrible. Moving on. they have Rashad Penny, who last season was phenomenal. Last 5 games, he had almost 700 yards. And mind you, we're going to talk about make or break players coming up. This was a player, former first round pick in 2018, where he did absolutely nothing his first 3 years in the NFL, or first 2. And then out of nowhere, they signed Adrian Peterson to the practice squad, and Chris Carson's playing like a prime AP. That is the thing to look out for in this team. In the draft, they hit it hard. The tackle spots, taking Charles Koss, Abraham Lucas as well on the second day, I believe, to play right tackle. They're trying to fill out the outside for this. Why give me that funny look?
Did you just say Chris Carson was playing like prime AP?
Talking about Rashad Penny. You just missed everything I said, didn't you?
No. You said, did you say somebody was playing like a prime AP?
Rashad Penny in the season
was playing like a prime AP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you watch that last season? He was
No,
maybe the best, most explosive
Yeah,
running back
he
in the
was
NFL.
killing it.
Why is that
I
crazy?
just think because AP is one of the greatest running backs of all time. But
I'm aware it's hyperbole.
okay.
That's number
Okay.
one. Number two,
Continue-
Chris Carson,
continue,
not
go
Chris
ahead.
Carson. Now you're mixing me up. Rashad Penny was phenomenal at last season. I don't know why you're acting like that's.
I'm gonna read the stats to Brandon.
Yeah.
On December 12th against the Texans, 16 rushes for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. The week after against the Rams, only 39 yards. Against the Bears, 17 for 135 and a touchdown. The Detroit Lions, 25 rushes for 170 and 2 touchdowns. Against Arizona at the end of the season, 23 attempts, 190 rushing yards and a touchdown. Yeah.
What's that, like a 3? That's 4 games. He played really great.
5. Pretty sure it was.
You had
He was
5 games off.
It was like the explosion to end the season. I could not have predicted that. And the Seahawks watched that and said, "Okay, we're going to take Kenneth Walker, the third. Kenneth Walker is a player in college, super productive. That's one of the top backs in this draft. You had the two of them. Whether or not Chris Carson comes back, this is one of the better young backfields in the NFL. And Rashad Penny, he's looking to prove himself. I think for him this year, if he can continue that, and you're continuing to build this offensive line, Charles Cross in the draft, they're building this team the right way to evaluate Drew Lock. I don't believe in Drew. He has moments, though, where I think this season he's going to have 3 or 4 games where he plays super well. He's hitting DK Metcalf in some long balls. Tyler Lockett in Denver would have been the best receiver he would have had. Those are 2 top 15, top 20 receivers. You add in Noah Fant, who he worked with in Denver as well. I think whoever's under center, whether it's Geno or Drew Lock, they're going to have all the weapons and one of the best running games in the NFL to work with here. And when I say to myself, this team is building the right way, I say, okay, they don't have the franchise quarterback here. But I do think they're starting to build everything else. I don't think they're going to trade DK. I look at the squad and I say the offense is being built fully. Then you win 3 or 4 games this season and you can draft a quarterback, whether you have to trade up to 1 or 2 to get him, or you can find him at 5 or 6. The Seahawks are heading in a really good direction, even after losing the best player in their franchise history.
I don't know, I'm not on the Seattle train, and I'm not gonna bump up their rebuild either. I just feel like when you lose a such an elite quarterback like that, you're bound for regression. I don't really see too many positives besides the fact that, yeah, you do have 2 very good talents on the outside in Tyler Lockett and DK. But if you're going into the season and Drew Lock's not the guy, and you're gonna give me Geno Smith. We've seen what Geno Smith can do with that offense already. It's not impressive. That is a team that'll probably win 3 games if he's under center. So
that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It's a good thing because you're tanking, but they're in a position where I feel like they've had talks about trading DK. They've had talks about trading Tyler Lockett. If you're gonna go full rebuild, go full rebuild. Unless Drew Lock really turns out to be the guy. I mean, best that we've seen out of Drew Lock was his rookie season.
But that's not why he won. I think he was undefeated that year. But to be
Yeah,
clear,
he
this is what
4-1.
they got for Russell Wilson. It was not Drew Lock. It was a 2022 first-round pick, 2023 first-round pick, 2022 second, 2022 fifth, 2023 second, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and Drew Lock. I think the package they got for him, given the fact he's 33 and they've done nothing to build around the last 3 years, that was pretty darn good because you were going nowhere with Russ, and it kind of came to this point where, dude, you gotta put this dude in a situation with a Super Bowl. If you can't do it, you should do the right thing, which is send him to a team that actually can. And Denver was better prepared to win now. And I think for them, they get multiple first-round picks. They go heavy in the draft. I think I said Abraham Lucas was a day 2 pick. I'm going to double check their draft. One of you want to dive into their schedule because I think they're going to lose a bunch of games, sure. But this rebuild is going a good spot, I think. There's a ton of talent on the offense. Defensively, you have Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, one of the best safety duos in the NFL. Say what you want about Jamal. He's one of the best safeties inside the box. Quandre Diggs is a great playmaker in the open. I mean, there's a lot to like here on this team, even if they're not going to be very good. They just need a franchise quarterback, and I think that's where people will really be excited to watch them play.
All right, you want to go into the schedule?
I
have it in front of me.
Yep.
Week 1, in Seattle against Denver. Oh, sheesh.
This is a hard one. I'll go with Denver.
Russell Wilson coming home.
I think he's going to smack them, I'll be honest with you. I see the Broncos winning that by like 3 scores.
I guess I'm going to take your word for it. I'll have my FanDuel account ready come week 1. All right, week 2 at San Francisco.
Taking the Niners.
Brandon?
Niners.
Week 3 at home against the Falcons.
I think the Seahawks win that game.
That's a close one. Week 4 at Detroit.
I
like Detroit.
Yeah, man.
Week 5 at New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Week 6 against Arizona and Seattle.
Arizona.
Same. Week 7 at LA versus the Chargers.
Chargers.
This will be an interesting one. Week 8.
They got...
What happened, brother?
I'm looking at the schedule. They have literally, I mean, you're going to keep going. They have 3 winnable games, and that's the Falcons, Giants, and Jets. Like, every other game, they're going to take an L. So I see them being a 3.
Maybe the Panthers.
Team at best.
Should we even continue this?
I don't.
Yeah, they're going to win.
I mean, if you look at all those other teams, but.
Yeah, it's true. I don't see them beating Arizona. I don't see them beating Tampa. I don't see them beating the Raiders, the Rams, I already said the Niners, I believe. They have a game against the Chiefs and the Rams at the end of the season. No chance. I do believe the Jets are better than what people expect. So I don't even think they actually have a chance against the Jets.
Yeah, I think the ceiling for this team is 4 wins, honestly. And I think the floor is you win 2. I think 2 to 4 because their schedule is tougher. Like you said, the only winnable games to me, Jets, Carolina at home, the Giants week 8, and then the Lions and the Falcons weeks 3 and 4. That's 5 winnable games to me. The rest, I don't. Maybe they steal a game from Las Vegas, or even heck, the 49ers. Whether Jimmy G goes down and Trey Lance has to start and he doesn't play well, but there's almost like no shot this team wins more than 5 games, just because by far not only the worst quarterback in your division, the worst quarterback in the NFL starting. Because Drew Lock, he has some good moments, like I said. I think there will be a few weeks, maybe against the Raiders, he and DK are hitting with each other, and they're able to upset the Raiders. But the totality of Drew Lock, even with the talent that he's getting around him, I don't trust. I've seen nothing to suggest in the NFL you can trust him. I think Pete Carroll will give him a fair look. Geno Smith was playing the best football of his career last year in the little opportunities he was given. So I say to myself, okay, I'm excited to see what the rest of this team. They drafted Boye Mafe in the second round, one of the best edge rushers in the draft. I think they had a pretty good draft. They were building well on the outside for the zone rushing attack. But even with the potential of the running game, the 2 receivers you have, the young tight end, you're maybe going to be starting 2 rookie tackles. And that's tough for any young team. You have the worst quarterback. The defense is losing Bobby Wagner, who was the blueprint of that for years. And it's just a new era in Seattle where they're not trying to win games. There's no incentive to try to make the playoffs because you're not going to be good enough. No matter what happens, there's a 0% chance this team's making the playoffs. I think if they're not the worst team in the NFC between them, the Giants, and what other team would be in that discussion? The Bears. Oh, the Bears. The Bears will be number 1. They'll be the worst. I think Seattle and the Giants, they'll be right after them. So,
I think their best chance at an upset is week 1 against the Broncos. Russ in a new system. They're very familiar with him. I think that's their best opportunity.
Drew Lock revenge tour? Is that what you're going with?
Revenge game, not a whole tour, just one revenge game. Because maybe they start hot and they deceive a couple people in that week 1 game, but the rest of the season is looking bleak.
I really do think Drew Lock. I think that he and Daniel Jones, JQ's gonna love this when he comes on. I think they're in that same tier. And Drew Lock, he deserves an opportunity this year because he was 4-1 as a rookie, And he's had moments where he's been good. He's just had some awful moments. It's like, this guy, how on earth was he a day 2 pick?
No.
And do you guys, I know you're going to say no. Do you think he's going to put it together? I think, even with all the talent Seattle has, no.
Not a chance.
Because the same thing popped up for him in college. That's why he wasn't a first-round pick at Mizzou. So, yeah, 4 wins to the Seahawks. I got the Rams winning the division, Seahawks in second, Cardinals in third, winning 9, maybe 8 games, more likely 10 than 8. And then last, I had the Seahawks winning 3 or 4 games if they're lucky.
John, I just want to say you messed up there. You meant Rams, 49ers, Cardinals, Seahawks. You said Seahawks twice.
Yeah, you said Seattle second.
Actually,
Yeah, you
I
said
do that
Seattle,
frequently
Seahawks
to our
in second.
listeners. If you're new here, try again. I got the Rams coming first, the 49ers coming in second, around 10 wins. Third place, I have not the Seahawks. I'm not gonna say it twice this time. I have the Cardinals, and then last, I got Seattle.
Yeah, I have the same exact ranking as you: Rams, Niners, Cards, and Seattle rounding it off.
Mine flip flops the second. Rams, Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks.
You're high on Jimmy G, eh?
Hey, no, I'm not. I ain't never been.
Oh,
Hated the draft when we took him.
I will say Daniel Jones, he is a little bit better than Drew Lock because of his rushing ability, but I think as pure passers, Drew Lock's a little bit better. But to me, they're right there.
Well, if Daniel Jones could stop throwing the football in the dirt on
Let's
a
bump
simple
up the
throw
mood a
route,
little bit.
Or
and
tripping
talk
on
about
those big time rushes he gets
all-time
prime time
all-timers.
football.
we'll save the giant jokes for JQ. But let's get into our all-time defensive draft. Come on, John, break us down.
So we did this last week with offenses, and what we did was we drafted an entire offensive unit because it would have been very long if we did 5 separate offensive linemen for all 3 of us, 15 picks. Then we took 2 receivers, quarterback, 2 running backs, tight end, all that jazz. For this today, it's going to be unique. We're going to go with drafting your own defense. Going to go edge, defensive tackle, defensive end, inside linebacker, 2 corners and 2 safeties. It's a little bit weird having 4 DBs and only 4 guys on the front 4 is what we're going to call it. So we're drafting an 8-man defense with those positions. Brand's got, what was that?
Got the dice.
A dice.
I
Okay.
had to get the dice. I put it back. I gotta get it from my Monopoly set. Okay, we'll roll for Justin first this time again. Ready? Justin, you got 6. I'm gonna roll that again because I didn't say if I was going for John or me, and I don't want anybody. Okay, so this one's for John.
Yeah.
John, you got a 2. Looks like Justin might be getting number 1 pick. I got 2, so we got to roll again. John will roll for you. You got a 5. I get a 6. So Justin, me, then John. John gets back-to-back picks.
Nice.
I think this is a easy number 1. I'm gonna take a player that Bill Belichick thinks is the greatest defensive player of all time, and so can everybody else agree. I never had the privilege of watching him play, but man, those highlights, I've seen the documentaries, I've seen the stats. I'm gonna go with LT. I don't think that it's really a debatable number 1 pick there.
All right, so you kind of made it a little bit easier on me because you took arguably the greatest defensive player, and some people think is the greatest football player of all time. So I'm going to take who I think is, arguably the second greatest defender of all time, and it's because of how much of a game changer he was, and that's give me my cornerback, prime time, Deion Sanders. All right, Deion Sanders. There's not much you could say on him because his name speaks for himself, but the greatest cornerback of all time. 2-time Super Bowl champ, defensive player of the year, 6-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team, 8-time Pro Bowler, 90s All Decades team, 100th anniversary team, Hall of Famer. The guy was just next level. So that's just an easy one. Primetime Deion.
So with the first pick, we got, I almost said LaDainian Tomlinson, Lawrence Taylor.
LT Lawrence Taylor. The real LT. The real LT.
Yeah, not disrespect Tomlinson, but and the second pick we got Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
I just realized I got both LTs on my team.
You got both LTs on your team.
Yeah, we're gonna put these together and post them on Twitter. Okay.
All right, Johnny, who's your pick?
You guys left me with a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good. There's a lot.
Okay. Well,
is you gonna go with your boy?
There's a lot of different ways I can go here. I got back-to-back picks, correct?
Yep. Oh, he could take 2 of his boys.
Okay.
3 of his boys. Oh, he's got 3 shots at this. Poor Johnny boy.
I've got a lot of different ways I can go here. I swear to God, if you take my... So there's... Okay. All
I
right.
know who he's thinking probably too.
It's going to kill me if you guys take it. Okay.
It's like I just got to take him because I can't leave it up to fate.
All right.
All right, let's do it, John.
Ooh. With my first pick, I'm going to go with Reggie White to be my defensive end. When you
Okay.
talk about just pure dominance, defensive player of the years, Super Bowls, and to me, the greatest defensive end to ever play football. He was top 4 in defensive player of the year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different times in his career. 7 actually, because he won the award for the second time at the age of 37 years old. You know, when we talk about doing it for a long time, Reggie just was the greatest defensive end. I mean, sure, there's a couple of other names who you guys are probably going to take after this. But for me, Reggie, even as a Steeler fan, he's not a Pittsburgh Steeler. But man, he is, to me, the man when it comes to defensive ends. He is the first person I think of. And the only reason why I really had to think hard on about that was because I knew I was taking him. The second pick I want to prepare for ahead of time because there's 2 picks I got here. And there's, because of that, a lot of different ways I can go. I can go cornerback, I can go safety, or I can just go linebacker. And I'm going to take here Aaron Donald to be my defensive tackle.
Oh, wow.
And I might throw up if you guys take the guy I was considering next. I might throw up. But yeah, I'll take Aaron Donald and Reggie White because there's no defensive duo that'll be quite like that in the middle. I might throw up after that. We'll see.
My pick, right? I'm up.
Yep.
All right. So I got prime time, right? Here's the question.
Oh, I have back-to-back
Okay,
picks, and John's
So
drinking
what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take a guy to lock in the middle of my field. I'm gonna take who I think the greatest middle linebacker of all time is. I'm gonna take one of the greatest leaders of all time and motivators. John knows him very well. Ray Lewis. So I mean, with Ray Lewis, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time first team, 3-time second team, 13-time Pro Bowler, led the league in tackles 3 times, Hall of Famer, 2000s All Decade Team, the 100th anniversary team, most career combined in solo tackles, combined 2,059 tackles, and solo 1,568 tackles. The man was just next level. I mean, love me some Ray Lewis, dude. I miss him. Watching him compete every Sunday.
Fortunately, that wasn't the next player I was considering, but I was really hoping you guys would go somewhere else there. I was really hoping I could
Justin's pick.
use that against you.
Back to back.
Oh, man, this is going to be fun. I love this. Oh, this is fun.
I'm gonna get you.
Look at his face. Look at his Oh, man. So, if one of the things that I love to do, especially when I'm playing my video games like Madden, and I have my team, I like to make sure on my defensive side, it's a no-fly zone. I'm going to take some safeties that are going to rock you, and they're going to grab some picks. So whenever I take a shower, I use Head and Shoulders. So I'm going to take Troy Polamalu, man. I need somebody that's going to fly over the line and block a kick. I need somebody that's going to kill anybody that's crossing his path. One of the most lethal, greatest players to ever play the game. I'm going to take Troy Polamalu. And then on the other end, I'm going to take another ball hawk to be on the opposite side of him. And I'm going to take Ed Reed. Probably I think he's the greatest safety I've ever witnessed play in my life. So Yeah, I think I'm off to a pretty good start. I'm sorry, John.
I mean, listen,
I
man,
was
those two guys are the two greatest safeties I've ever seen play in my lifetime. Two great back-to-back picks though by Justin. I really like that. They were my first picks as in terms of safeties. So I'm gonna I got Deion Sanders, right? I got Ray Lewis. So you'd think I'd go D line, right? But Brandon's greedy. Brandon wants not one, but two shut down, lockdown corners.
this one's gonna get me mad.
Yep. I'm going Darrell Mother Trucking Revis. All right. And there's been some players, former players, to come out to disrespect Darrell Revis. Oh, you guys giving him all that praise, but guess what? This man, week in and week out, was locking up the best of the best. Ocho Cinco, Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith Jr. Keep the list going. Randy Moss, T.O. Just keep it going. This Super Bowl champion, 4-time first team, 7-time Pro Bowler on the All Decades team. I'd imagine when the next All Anniversary team comes out, he's going to be on that. In my opinion, he's the second greatest cornerback of all time, right behind Deion Sanders. So I got my lockdown corners right there. Nobody throwing on us.
I like that. Revis is the greatest cornerback I've ever seen play in my life.
Yeah. Johnny Boy, back to back.
Okay, John?
He's not happy. You can still take two of your Steelers. They're still on the board.
We should have, you and I should have just taken all the greatest Steelers defensive players of all time, just to see them.
The reason why I'm pretty pissed is because I took Aaron Donald over Mean Joe Green.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that.
I was thinking we were doing two defensive ends. I was going to have Aaron Donald play a position at the end. So I cakewalked you into taking Mean Joe Green and Troy Polamalu.
Well, Mean Joe Green's still available, but you can't take him. Yeah.
All right. Well, this sucks.
Come on, Johnny Boy. You took Randy Moss from me.
I'll take Rod Woodson here, the 9th overall pick.
One
of the greatest cornerbacks to ever play. He was an absolute stud at the Steelers, was another guy that played until his late 40s and was still one of the very best cornerbacks.
Shut up, kid. It's all right.
4 different teams. It was even the 1 year spent the 49ers pretty good. And 11-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, Depoy, and yeah, pretty.
So upset.
Rod Woodson was awesome. Yep. And next pick.
Sorry, John.
Well, yeah, I really messed up my draft by not taking Mean Joe and Troy Polamalu. Well, I'll take Jack Lambert here with my inside linebacker pick. One of the greatest linebackers to ever play, one of the greatest teammates, and if you try to run up the middle of LaDainian Tomlinson, he's going to beat the absolute tar out of him.
I got Adrian Peterson.
Jack Lambert is one of the toughest players ever. Don a Steelers uniform, he's also one of the very best. This is a guy who not only 6-time All-Pro, a defensive player of the year, made the All-Decades team like Rod Woodson in the 70s. He's won 4 Super Bowls, so we're going to get more championship gravitas without having Troy Polamalu.
All right. let me spice up the mood a little bit. So thank you, John, for gift wrapping me arguably the greatest defensive tackle of all time, Mean Joe Green from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steel Curtain, baby. 4-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Man of the Year. I know you guys love that award. 5-time first team, 3-time second team, 10-time Pro Bowler, All Decade 70 team. He's on the 75th and 100th anniversary team and a Hall of Famer bona fide stud. Give me Mean Joe Green to plug up the middle so y'all can't run on me.
So I guess we're going with DTs. So I'm gonna have to follow you with it. I'm gonna go Warren Sapp,
There you go.
Hall of Famer, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All Pro, a Super Bowl champ, all '90s team. My team is stacked. I'm sorry, John. To follow Warren Sapp, why not? I'm gonna go. This is a person. I don't know if you guys had him on your list, but I had him on it. I'm gonna go John Randall, defensive end Vikings. In 14 years, he had 556 tackles.
Wait, so you're taking Justin, I just want to clarify. You're taking John Randall as your defensive end then?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. 137 and a half career sacks, 10+ sack seasons, the 7-time Pro Bowler, 6 first-team All-Pro selection, a sack leader in '97, and a part of the 1990s All-Decade team and the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team. I don't think it's really debatable. John Randall is a monster. All right, so those are my 2 picks, Warren and John Randall. Back to you.
So here we go. I'm gonna take Mr. All-Time Sacks leader himself, greatest Buffalo Bill of all time, Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time First Team, 2-time Second Team, 11-time All-Pro, led the league in forced fumbles twice as a co-leader, 80s and 90s All-Decade Team, the 100th NFL anniversary team, 200 sacks in his career. It's number 1 all-time, Hall of Famer, most seasons with 1 or more sacks, 19 seasons. And most seasons with 10 or more sacks, and that's 13 seasons. This man was an absolute animal in the pass rush.
I like that.
How on earth? I thought he would have been taken when I took Reggie White, but apparently not. He had to go and take every safety off the board instead. So, Bruce Smith, number 13, despite being one of the 4 greatest defensive players of all time.
Bruce Smith.
You guys just don't let the board speak to you.
Justin doesn't let the He's don't let the board speak to you. Blame Justin. I don't know. The board is speaking well. He got back-to-back picks. He locked up his safeties position. I would have done it if I had that. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, why would we take Bruce Smith in the top 5? Why would we do that?
Listen,
John made sure to take Reggie White, so now we know there's not much competition. We could take all the defensive backs before then. So,
I mean, Justin hasn't even taken a cornerback yet.
Yeah. He doesn't. He doesn't want to hear it. He's looking.
You need an inside linebacker.
You know what? I feel like I messed up. I feel like John had a whole speech for Troy Polamalu that he had prepared before.
He probably had it for Mean Joe Green and Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, he's just flipping those cards.
It's like, you guys didn't even mention when he did this and that. And then 4th down, he made the game-winning.
Well, I screwed up by not taking Mean Joe Green. For some reason, I was looking at defensive ends, and I had Aaron Donald at the ends, and don't know where I was going there. But, I mean, Aaron Donald is just as good, so I would like.
What are you going with?
Well, don't you have 2 picks, man?
You got 2 back-to-back picks.
Who else did you take? You took Bruce Smith.
I took Bruce Smith. You need an inside linebacker, a corner, and 2 safeties.
Okay. Well, with my before Justin takes him, with my the 14th pick, I'll take Mel Blount. They had to make a rule after this guy because he was that darn destructive to receivers. You do a 6'3" as a cornerback. That's not that. He was the size of like a defensive lineman in terms of height, and he just absolutely destroyed guys that try to beat him off the release. All decades team. He was only a 2-time All-Pro, but what matters more is that he's Defensive Player of the Year and a Super Bowl champion. like I said, now that you can't jam guys after 5 yards, the quarterback position is playing entirely different. But for a guy that still had 11 interceptions in a 14-game season, I'll take Mo Blunt kindly here. Only if I could put him with Troy Polamalu, that'd be really convenient. But no, how'd I be able to do that? No use.
And you got another pick, John.
If my other pick, I would take Ty Law if it actually bothered you, Brandon, but you already took both cornerbacks, so why would I consider doing that?
I got lockdowns.
So, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good outside the fact is don't have Troy Polamalu. I feel great outside of that, quite honest with you. A lot of different great free safeties or strong safeties I could take here if only I had Troy Polamalu. Where can I go here?
We can make a trade if it means that much.
You know what? We're gonna go. There's no trades on this. We already agree on that. I'm surprised, quite frankly, this player is still here. I really want to take TJ Watt at this pick, but Derek Brooks is the second greatest outside linebacker I think ever. This is a guy who, I mean, quite frankly, I'm all over the place. Derek Brooks is an outside linebacker, correct?
Yeah.
Playing a 3. Okay. Super Bowl champion, Defensive Player of the Year, Walter Payton Man of the Year, All Decades 2000s team. Give me Dylan Brooks is an NBA player. Give me Derek Brooks on the outside. He had 1,700 tackles over his career, and feeling surprised that he fell all the way to 15, but I'll take him.
All right, my pick.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna take a strong safety, and I'm gonna take 49ers legend Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott was a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 8-time first team All Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, led the league in interceptions twice, led the league in forced fumbles as a co-leader once. He's on the 80s, 90s All Decade team, 75th and 100th anniversary teams, Hall of Famer. And the one story that I've heard before that is just absolutely insane is that this guy had to amputate the tip of his left pinky finger so he could continue playing. Because if he decided to get a bone graft, he would have missed games in the following season. So that just speaks to 80s football was just such a different and weird time period. That's toughness to a different stratosphere. So I'll take that on my team.
I screwed up my draft again. I could have took TJ Watt my last pick. I could have took Ronnie right there. Oh.
So I'm up, right?
You got 2 picks.
Okay. I'm surprised this guy's still on the board. So I'm going to go with one of the greatest defenders again that I've ever seen, in Charles Woodson. Really surprised he was left on the board still. His all-time NFL ranks as a DB are top 5 in pretty much everything. I'll list a few of them. Tied first in career defensive touchdowns with 13. Second in career in interceptions returned for a touchdown with 11. Tied second in career forced fumbles with 28. Third in career tackles among DBs with 997. Tied fourth in career passes defended with 183, and tied fifth in career interceptions with 65. And we can go on and tell stories about his time when he went to the Packers and instantly became a Packers legend and won a Super Bowl over there. But yeah, I'm going to go Charles Woodson. I think that's an easy one for me, just to give myself a cornerback. And another player, I could go with a super legend here, but I'm going to go with a player that a lot of people forget about. This is where I throw the screws, where I throw a little something in there for you guys. But at linebacker, I'm going to take Patrick Willis, man. I feel like he was on such a Hall of Fame track where he would have been up there with guys like Ray Lewis before he retired. But he was a 7-time Pro Bowler in his time, 5-time All-Pro. He's a member of the All 2010s team, and he was a Defensive Rookie of the Year back in 2007. And he was a part of that 49ers team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Ravens. But had his career not been shortened, I think he'd be up there with one of the greatest linebackers of all time. Those are my guys.
So my pick, I'm gonna finish up my secondary and take a free safety. I'm gonna goes by the nickname Weapon X, Brian Dawkins. This man brought an aggression that was absolutely unparalleled to his contemporaries. 4-time first team All Pro, 1-time second team, 9-time Pro Bowler, on the All Decades 2000s team. He played in the Super Bowl with the Eagles back in 2004, I think it was, or 2004, 2003. Excuse me. Hall of Famer. I'll take B Doc. Playing with Ronnie Lott.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm realizing as I could have took Troy Polamalu, and when I took Aaron Donald, I was thinking to myself, even if Troy was taken by the person after me, Ed Reed would surely still be there. And then I realized I could have had Troy and Mean Joe Green like 7 picks later, and I won't complain about Aaron Donald and Rod Woodson, but I would have much preferred the former. All right. So I really need a linebacker in the middle. Unfortunately, there's no all-time Patriot middle linebacker that I could really pinpoint here. If there was, I would surely take him. Yeah, I'll take Teddy Bruschi. Let me think about this one. All right, so we're gonna go here and select. All the corners are gone. I really need a cornerback, actually. We're going to go take Steve Atwater here, 2-time Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest Super Bowl performances. And my head, I'm a little bit fuzzled right now. I can't think of the exact year, but we're talking about a guy who, now obviously a Hall of Famer, all decades, 1990s. To me, playing opposite of, who's my other safety? Oh, wait, don't have another safety, forgot. So, we're going to start off my back end with Steve Atwater, one of the toughest hitters, like Mel Blount, a ton of size to him at 6'3", and we're just gonna build the secondary tough, hard-hitting guys that could really make up for the loss of Mean Joe Green as if he were here. So Steve Atwater here at the 19th pick. Feeling great about my team. So that's good.
One more pick.
Ooh.
You got an inside line, but you got to take inside linebacker as your final pick.
Yeah, I also got to take 2 more defensive backs, if I'm not mistaken. No, I already got my cornerbacks.
Yeah, you got Mel Blount and Rod Woodson.
Yep.
Who'd you take at safeties?
Well, I just took Atwater. That's all I got right now. That's why I think I'm taking Ty Law, and then I realized I don't need a quarterback.
No.
Yeah, so Ray's gone. Jack Lambert's gone. Well, Jack Lambert. I took Jack. Okay, so Jack's my middle. I got my outside. My last pick's just another safety, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yep. Yeah, I took Jack. Really just feeling the effects now having Mean Joe and Troy on my team. That's all. So I ran a little bit slow right now. Well, opposite of Steve Atwater, the thing is, there's we're I need a strong safety.
Yep.
Steelers have 2 all-time ones. Well, actually, they have 3. I'm forgetting Donnie Shell, but
Come on, Don. Okay, I'll take John Lynch here. He wasn't an all-decades player, but he's a Super Bowl champion. After Troy Polamalu, there is a pretty steep decline, in my opinion, at the strong safety position. But to fill in more of those hard-hitting, tough safeties that, hey, this guy's not going to make as many plays as Troy Polamalu on the back end, but he's just going to be another guy that's just going to lay you out, and he's really going to make up for my frustration not having the greatest strong safety of all time. I'll take John Lynch and pair him with Steve Atwater. Could you imagine that duo? The hard-hitting. I mean, if you're able to get past Reggie White and Aaron Donald, you got to deal with the 2 hardest hitters in the game. So.
All right, Johnny boy. So with my final pick, I just need an outside linebacker, and you guys took two other guys I was looking, LT and Derek Brooks. So I'm gonna take Derek Thomas from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Like that.
Rest in peace, Derek Thomas. Died way too young. He was an NFL Man of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 3-time First Team All Pro, 3-time Second Team, 9-time Pro Bowler, led the league in forced fumbles twice, led the league in sacks once, 90s All Decade Team. He's a Hall of Famer. He's had the most sacks in a single game with 7. And in 11 seasons, he's got 126 and a half sacks. So I'll take Derek Thomas filling out my team.
And I have one more pick, right?
Yeah, you need a cornerback.
Yeah. John said that there was no more cornerbacks left, but
there's one major.
Yeah, I know. One big one, at least. See, one of the things, like you guys already know, that I like to draft people that I've seen. So one of the guys I'm going to point out is Champ Bailey. First off, coolest name. Champ. I might have to name my first child after that guy because of how cool it is. But Hall of Famer, 3-time All-Pro, 12-time Pro Bowler, and he's a part of the Hall of Fame All-2000s team. I still remember vividly just how much he used to lock people down, man. Forget just in real life, even in video games. I'm a big gamer, and the more you guys listen to that, the more you guys listen to the show, you'll understand that. But I used to play Madden with my cousins growing up as a kid, and every time I would pick the Broncos, I knew I was okay because I had this guy in the back out there playing DB for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Champ Bailey to round out my team, and I think I'm pretty loaded, man.
You have an awesome secondary.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
So just to recap our teams, I'll go first. I got in my secondary Deion Sanders and Darrelle Revis, Brian Dawkins and Ronnie Lott. Then I got Ray Lewis, Mean Joe Green, Bruce Smith, and Derek Thomas.
I got at cornerback Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson. At free safety, I got Ed Reed. At strong safety, I got Mr. Palomalu. At defensive end, I got John Randall, DT, Warren Sapp. Outside linebacker, LT, greatest defensive player of all time. And then middle linebacker, I got Patrick Willis.
Nice.
Honorable mention, I was thinking of Mike Singletary, but I just wanted to go with Patrick Willis.
Dick Butkus.
Defensive tackle, I have Aaron Donald. Defensive end, Reggie White. Outside linebacker, Derek Brooks. Inside linebacker, Jack Lambert. Cornerbacks, Rod Woodson and Mel Blount. Safeties, John Lynch and Steve Atwater.
And you have one more pick, right?
That's it.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it, guys. I think I got the best team.
There's no way, no.
I would agree with you. You do have the best team.
There's no way, no.
Mm-hmm. You let me take the two best safeties of all time, and that's it.
You let me take the two best cornerbacks of all time.
Yeah, I didn't think you were actually going to take two straight safeties, but it is you, so I should have known.
That was fun. We gotta. I want to see these teams all together. I want to get through to see from quarterbacks to defense, offense, and defense. I want to see what we got.
So in honor of that, I just made the hardest hitting safety and secondary I possibly can, just to take out channel my frustration on the football field.
Thank God I got a running back that could take the hits. Look at him, look. I wanted Ray Lewis. I have his jersey in my closet too.
Well, you're not getting him.
You don't
what time is it? Game time.
You don't want to make a trade. You don't want Patrick Willis.
No, I don't. I only want Randy.
We got another topic here that we can bounce right to. Yeah. With our big make it or break it years for people. Yes, John, you hinted at one with Rashad Penny. We've spoken about Tua and Baker Mayfield ad nauseum. So, guys, I'm curious. I want to hear what you guys have. Give me one player that you think right now they need to make it, or that's it.
So, we talked about, like you said, Rashad Penny. And one thing I didn't say, after the explosion he had in last season, he got a 1-year, $5.7 million extension. Running backs, they're constantly churned. We get rid of them. They don't often get that second contract. With him, what that contract says is, look, You don't see the Aaron Jones extensions too often. Even when you do, they're going to draft a guy like A.J. Dillon the year before. And with Rashad Penny, they just drafted a running back to replace him because they said, okay, that's cool. We're not going to use you as an every down back. But what that means for him, while he may not get paid like an every down back, he's going to have a little bit more longevity if he can put it all together with the skill he showed the end last season. And when you pair him with the running back and Kenneth Walker is going to take 15 carries, 15 touches a game, Rashad Penny is being set up with a better offensive line to really prove to people this is one of the very best running backs in the NFL. And he's going to stay healthy, which then he hasn't been able to do his first few years in the league. And he can prove himself that he wasn't a bust at that last selection, the 2018 first round. So I think for him, he's my running back. And then at receiver, I have a fun one. I don't know if I'm stealing him from you guys because no one believes in him, but it's Paris Campbell. Last year, he had moments, and through his career, he's always been mentioned because he's always been a notable draft selection by the Colts. And they said, look, Paris, you can't stay healthy, so what we're going to do is we're going to draft Michael Pittman Jr. the following season in 2020. And then in 2022, we're going to take Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati because we don't believe in you to be that kind of the number 2 receiver that we've been looking for to pair along T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton's not there anymore. Now that number 1 is Michael Pittman. And I think for Paris Campbell, 3 years into the NFL, talk about a bust. I don't like to use that word too often with the guy that's been hurt, but 34 receptions, 360 yards, and 2 touchdowns in only 15 games. And last year, he had one big time game later in the year. It was earlier in the year. Yeah, so he had a 51-yard touchdown against the Texans week 6. That was the only catch he had that game, but that was a big time score. And that flashed to people, hey, this dude, he has the talent, he just can never stay healthy. If he does, this is the year he can prove himself on a contract year. Hey, I belong here in the league. Those are my 2.
Okay.
Justin, you want to go or you want me to?
Yeah, sure. I already got mine on deck. So I don't know. You guys might be surprised by this, but we mentioned earlier, well, at least I said that even Brandon, that running back might be the most replaceable position in football. So I'm going to highlight one running back that I feel like has been a disappointment. One, I'm a big fantasy fan, so fantasy wise, he has been, and then production wise on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs, I think CEH Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a major disappointment for what Kansas City expected from him. The former first round pick, 32nd overall, came in with high expectations. I mean, his first game, he blew the doors off of it. Everybody was pumped up thinking that, man, this guy's going to steal the show. But last season, he rushed for 517 yards. I mean, he didn't really stay healthy. He only played 10 games. He just doesn't look like that dominating running back that Kansas City really expected. So I do feel like this is a big make it or break it year for him because if it doesn't go well and if he's putting up just 500, 600 yards and not getting touchdowns, not killing it in the red zone, I could see Kansas City just moving on. I think they've had production from their running backs before, like a Damian Williams. They've found production elsewhere many times, and I believe that he might be out the door if he doesn't contribute.
They've signed a Ronald Jones, who I think is better, and Ronald had issues with fumbles and drops and consistency in Tampa Bay, and he couldn't leapfrog Leonard Fournette. I have a feeling that Ronald Jones by the end of the season will have Clyde's job.
Who did they pick up at the end of this year? Right? Didn't the Chiefs pick up somebody at the end of this year that played really big? Jerick McKinnon, right? Like that was yeah. So I mean the Chiefs. So I agree with Justin. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he needs to show something there. You're showing you can get replaced, buddy. So I'm gonna hit you guys with a big name right here that I believe is in a pretty much make it or break a year. Maybe not to a lot of people, but when I start to look at it, I go, oh boy. And this is a little I wish I could have saved it for next week, but I'm gonna hit it now. So JQ, I'm sorry, but your boy Saquon Barkley.
Oh wow.
You better show up this year because after his rookie year where he played all 16 games, the only time he's done that in his career, he had 1,300 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, 50 first downs, and he had 91 receptions, 721 yards, and 4 touchdowns, right?
Yep.
But since then, his second season, he missed 3 games. He rushed for 1,003 yards. That's not very good. Only 6 touchdowns. And his receiving yard total was down, which is fine because you want to tone the workload down. But then he gets injured in 2020. He tears his ACL, only plays 2 games. And then he comes back this season, and he's just not what he was. He only plays 13 games. He only has 593 yards, a 3.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He's lost his first fumble in his NFL career this year too. And I just look at it and I say they accepted his 5th-year option, so he's going into this 5th year with the Giants. So he's going into a contract year. The ACL is not the issue anymore. That can explain last year. I get that. But now it's time to show that you're still this guy that we all thought you were. That when people were talking about him, this is the best running back prospect since Adrian Peterson. I believe in the talent and the football player, but now it's time to. You keep getting injured. Guess what? Like John said, he might not like to call him bust, but if you keep getting injured, you're injury prone and you're not producing, well, then it turns out you're a bust. So I have faith in Saquon Barkley, and it's going to be tough on the New York Giants team, but he's got to show up this year. He's got to have a big year. Got to have a big year.
You know, I remember going back to that draft class that there were so many question marks on, you know, if the Giants would take a quarterback or would they end up taking the running back. Just to name a couple people that were in that draft: Quentin Nelson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Bradley Chubb, uh, Vita Vea. I can go on and Derwin James. I can go on and on. That there were so many more. Well, could have been better utilized picks than Saquon Barkley at that time. And right now, if you're a Giants fan, I think you're sitting there like, wow, Josh Allen was taken number 7. And we took Saquon at number 2, and right now you have question marks at the quarterback position.
Yep.
You know, so you've had question marks at the quarterback position, the O-line position. It all could have been solved. You could have either had Quentin Nelson there, or you could have had Josh Allen under center.
Yep.
And I'm with you. I'm kind of sick of this whole Saquon Barkley thing. Since college, though, I felt like he was a little overrated. I actually felt like Nick Chubb was the best running back coming out of that class. And fast forward to today, and he is. He really is.
Yep.
So Saquon back in Penn State, you know, he struggled to run between tackles. Sure, he'd have that big explosive play, and I think we look at Saquon and we see that big explosive play, and we're like, oh, this guy's elite. But show me all the other plays before that. Show me the 8 rushes where he couldn't give you 3 yards. Show me the other rushes that he had. Don't just show me the explosive highlights, because highlight tapes are just that. They're your highlights. Show me the lowlights. I want to see what he's doing outside of those 70-yard runs and when he's taking it to the house. So,
and
just disappointing.
Just one more point on Saquon, because this is a big one too. He's 25 right now. He turns 26 in February. Everybody knows the running back shelf is not that long. Like once you hit 30, guess what? Your days are numbered, buddy. Okay. You're about to sign probably your last big contract of your career, unless you're a freak of nature like an Adrian Peterson. But odds are you're probably not. So this is it, man. Like in 4 years, you're gonna be like these other. I mean, look at Todd Gurley, dude. Todd Gurley was coming off career years, great years. People were like, "Oh my God, Todd Gurley," and now he's a free agent. He's not even 30. I think he's 28. That's how running backs go in the NFL.
I remember when Saquon went down for a while, Wayne Gallman looked like he was a better running back that fit their scheme for a period of time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm with you, man. Make it or break it, Saquon. You got to show us you're worth that contract.
There's some guys. We really went in on those running backs, huh? But there's some guys on the defensive side of the ball I want to talk about. Definitely some honorable mention style players. The first to me is a player I really enjoyed coming into the 2020 NFL draft. His name is Jeff Okudah in Detroit.
Yeah.
When we talked about the Lions, this was a player we didn't even mention. Yet, coming out of Ohio State, he was widely regarded the best cornerback prospect. And the expectation in Detroit when they take a cornerback with a top 3 pick, you're expecting that guy to be a stud. You think of Jalen Ramsey as the first player, top 5 pick at corner. You're hoping, because cornerback, it is a premium position, but you'd rather an edge or even an offensive lineman in some cases. It may not be the pretty pick, but offensive line's more necessary usually with a younger quarterback. And the Lions, they're trying to build their offense. Jeff Okudah's coming off, was it a torn ACL? Achilles. It was Achilles, huh? And he wasn't very good his rookie year. He struggled a lot. coming to his third year, you can say to yourself, if he doesn't put it all together, that's 3 years he's proven nothing to you. The Lions are looking for his
And
replacement.
they got a new GM who didn't draft Jeff Okuda. You know how new GMs are, and they're like, I'd rather have my guy succeed than some other guy. So
They have no vows to him. That's another thing that goes into it. If it's not the same regime, yeah. Brad Holmes, he retired after 2020, so that's the first player that comes to mind to me. I got two Steelers on here that are both young former first round picks. First is Devin Bush, another player. He had a torn ACL. Unlike Jeff Okuda, he was really good his rookie year, and he was drafted to be the Ryan Shazier replacement. The Steelers traded a second round pick and moved up in the first round, gave up a pick that would become Noah Fant to get Devin. And they didn't give him his fifth-year option. This year, they bring in Miles Jack. Last year, they brought in, not Robert Spillane, Joe Schobert. And the Steelers, they've seen what Devin Bush is capable of, a speedy linebacker who can guard tight ends. But last year, literally none of it was there that he showed as a rookie. He was missing so many tackles. His presence in the box was not felt whatsoever. Part of it was injuries in the front. Stephon Tuitt did not play last year. Tyson Alulu played a total of like one quarter. Now you say to yourself, with a healthy defensive line, can they help Devin more appropriately? You have the superstars in Cam Hayward, TJ Watt. Miles Jack is an upgrade over Joe Schobert. And for Devin, a second year coming off that torn ACL, he has to do big things this year. He's gone from Pittsburgh. And as a Steeler fan, I feel queasy about it because you wouldn't believe how many tackles he was missing last year and how he struggled in coverage. He was horrible. He was pretty bad, and he was one of the biggest reasons why the Steelers are one of the worst rushing defenses. This pretty poor play on the front outside our two superstars. Then I got two more guys. They're actually twins. I got Terrell Edmonds. He's playing on a one-year contract. The Steelers didn't have to pay him a whole lot because the market wasn't really out there for him. He's an athletic, bigger safety that can play in the box. He's very good stopping the run. The issue with him is in the back end, when he's in open space, he can often let big plays happen. And if you're a safety giving up big plays as a former first-round pick, fans are going to hate you. So he's been one that Steelers fans have criticized a ton from giving up some bad plays. He's not a guy that's going to generate splash plays. But he is, like I said before, a rangy, bigger safety that can play in the box. You can move him around a little bit. He's playing a one-year deal on the Steelers. They add in DeMonte Casey from Dallas. That's a safety that's going to get reps. Terrell Edmonds may not be back in Pittsburgh next year, and if he wants a big-time payday, he has to put it all together. Last is his twin brother, Tremaine, in Buffalo. He's been a two-time Pro Bowler on those Bills defenses, but the Bills, they didn't give him an extension. He's also playing on that fifth-year option. Now, the Steelers, they declined his twin brother, Terrell's. Bills exercised Tremaine's fifth. And for him, they're already drafting his successor, and let me pronounce this right, Terrell Bernard. And I look at the Bills' defense. They're elite. They have one of the best safety duos. They're awesome up front. But Tremaine, he hasn't quite lived up to the top 16 pick label. He was one of the top picks in that same draft class. And I think Bills fans really just expecting more out of him. He starts in part like Terrell because the Bills invested a ton into this guy. And though he was able to make Pro Bowls because he's been a tackle machine, he hasn't been the domineering linebacker that they drafted him to become 16th overall. But for those two guys, they got to level up this year. Next year, or in this upcoming offseason, they've been missing a lot of money for former first-rounders.
yeah,
I'm with you there.
So
that's
my spiel.
Those are make it or break it.
Your Steelers spiel.
Well, they got two. Those guys really are make it or break it guys in Pittsburgh. They got to pick it up. So
John's taking a look at you guys, so y'all better show up this season.
Taking a look underneath the hood, y'all better
Don't make him call Mike Tomlin.
Well, believe me, Mike will make it work with whoever it is.
Make it work.
We'll make the playoffs with Devin Hodges under center if he needs to.
Oh gosh.
Hey, I mean, I talked about in that video. We're gonna jump into. Do you want to introduce the new name for our Check It Up part of the show? Because I have a really interesting fact for y'all.
Are you gonna do the 2-minute drill?
Yeah. Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, sure. Name? So we're here. We're gonna introduce a new topic. So we've done Check It Up in previous times, but Check It Up is a basketball term, so we're gonna leave it for the basketball episodes. For football, we're gonna do a 2-minute drill. So one of us is gonna bring out a topic, and we're gonna go at it. Obviously, 2 minutes, and it's a strict deadline. Once those 2 minutes are up, play's over, unless the ball's in the air. But we'll see how good the argument is. John, I'll let you go.
Okay, so we got into a few Steeler debates. I saw this week on social media a few things. Number one, we debate whether or not the Steelers can make the playoffs with whoever's under center because you guys are saying,
Time out. Are you starting so I can start
yeah,
a timer?
you can start
Okay.
the timer. So you're basically saying you don't trust the Steelers being a playoff team next year. I want to remind y'all they're 8-4. They're 0-2 in 2020 with or 2019 with Ben. They were 8-4 to start that season with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. I want to let you guys know that Mitch Trubisky so far in his NFL career is one of the winningest quarterbacks since he was drafted in 2017. Mitch's record is actually top 5 among quarterbacks, if not mistaken. I need to pull up the exact Instagram stat, but in his career is 29-21, which is one of the more winningest marks, so to speak. Mitch Trubisky is better than Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, and the Steelers are 8-4 at those two guys. So that's down Instagram. Mitch is one of the more winningest. That's not really a term, but Steelers make the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky under center. That's mine.
Okay.
Well, then you did this in under 2 minutes. So we're at 50 something seconds.
Yep.
Okay. Brandon, you have anything? Got a minute
Talk
on
about the fight night.
Well, I mean, I guess I could recap the fight night just a little bit. So it wasn't the event. By the way, if anybody, UFC Fight Night London, Blades vs Aspinall was not last night in the UK, but last Saturday afternoon. So like I said, the people to look out for, Molly Meatball Molly McCain, who had a big first round TKO. She dipped through the overhand right, caught the girl right on the chin. Girl backpedaled, wobbled up. Molly analyzed the target. She threw another spinning back elbow, a la her last performance. Rocked the girl again, hit her with a couple combo. Fight was over. She went crazy. She jumped down in the crowd. She jumped into Dave Portnoy's arms, and he caught her. It was a great night. Molly McCain is just incredibly lovely person. And then Patty the Batty Pimblett. A lot of tension going into this fight, and his performance wasn't indicative of what Patty can be in the future. And he even said that, but then he said again that he talked to his coaches about it after the fight, and his coaches were like, "Listen, man, stop being so hard on yourself. You went into this week very with a lot of emotion going into the back of it." For people who don't know, one of Patty's friends committed suicide this last week, so I think it was this last week. It might have been in the last 2 weeks. I might not be sure, but so he had to go into this fight with a lot of emotion behind him, and a kid that he was talking to who was terminally ill. I think he was 10 months or 11 months old. Sorry, passed away. I believe I don't have the right date, so I don't want to mess it up. But he did pass away this year, and so that hit him hard. So he was going into this fight with a lot of emotions and a lot of tension because he really didn't like his opponent. He got the job done. He was able to take the guys back from a very weird position. You'd have to look at it; it'd be hard to describe. But he was able to uh, get both. Uh, he got his legs around the guy's body in a body triangle, but he had the guy's right arm trapped by his leg, so he was able to get him into a rear naked choke. And the guy had no choice. He had to either go to sleep or tap, and he finally tapped. So Patty Pimba, and he delivered on his promise. He teabagged him right after the fight, like he did in Modern Warfare 2. And the main event was another sad one. I mean, 15 seconds into the fight, it was looking good. Curtis Blades landed two nice shots. Tom Aspinall looked like he was just about to get his composure. He throws a thigh leg kick. Nothing looks wrong on the replays and the slow mos. He brings his leg down and steps back, and just for some reason hurls into pain, drops on his butt, and just grabs his knee. Um, some people are speculating it was a torn MCL because one of the announcers talked to the doctors afterwards, and the doctor said himself that if the guy's in this much pain and he was howling in the middle of that octagon, that it's more likely it's going to be a torn MCL. So hoping him speedy recovery. It was literally a 15-second fight. It didn't even really get going, but hoping him a speedy recovery. great night. Can't wait for next week. We got a pay-per-view, but I'll break that down on our Wednesday show.
We're going to have to give you 5 minutes for that. If it's, we'll make a little nuanced approach for the
2-minute drill.
2-minute drill. Basically, if you're going to talk about baseball or MMA, whether it's WWE or UFC, whatever the case may be, we'll give you like 6+ minutes. But if it's specifically related to football or basketball, we'll keep it under 2, just so you have more time to speak about it. That'll be one little edit I'll make in there.
Okay.
Justin, you got something for us? If it is baseball, then that way you can talk about it for 2 minutes.
I don't really have too much, but sure, I'd like to shout out something that I find pretty cool that's going on in baseball. So growing up, there was like you had your consistently bad teams. Okay. You had your Baltimore Orioles. They had a period of time in the 2000s where in the like 2010s, I like to say 15, 14, where they were actually pretty good and they were contending. But then they had the steep decline, losing hundreds of games. You have your Pittsburgh Pirates. They had their little playoff run years ago, but for the most part, they've been bad my entire life. And then I look at the Seattle Mariners. They've been bad my entire life. Right now, I'm looking at the wild card standings, and this makes me super pumped for baseball right now. Brandon, you sent me a video not too long ago about baseball losing its popularity, but what Skip Bayless had said in that video was how baseball is really a local sport and it's loved locally, and that is the truth. I can't argue that. But I'm super pumped. The Baltimore Orioles, as much as I'm so pissed that they beat the New York Yankees last night, they are contending for a wild card spot today. At this very moment, they stand 47-47. They are a 500 team. I think they've shocked themselves. I wore a Baltimore Orioles shirt, I think, last episode. I wish I was wearing it today. I didn't think I was getting into this. But this is a chance for Baltimore to just go all in, man. Just fight for the playoff spot. Make a trade. Show that you believe in your players. You got a young catcher in Adley Rutschman. You got Cedric Mullins, a 30-30 player in center field. You got Ryan Mountcastle, one of the more exciting outfielders and first baseman in the game. He's killing it for my fantasy team too. They are so exciting to watch, except for the stupid wall that they put up in left field. They pushed their left field wall back. But they're a fun team to watch. I love good stories. It's just really good for the heart to see Baltimore playing some good baseball. And, you never like to see teams tank. When I watch teams tank, it almost makes me want to puke because it's like, come on, man. Like, you're not putting out a good product for your fans. It's all about the fans at the end of the day. We want to go to the stadium and watch our team. I couldn't imagine being a Yankee fan and watching my team sell, like, and seeing them suck, like in the early 90s and in the 80s when the Yankees weren't doing much. Watching this Orioles team, this is exactly what baseball is all about. Small markets. You don't pay for big time players, but you know what? What you do play with, you play with heart. And that's exactly what the Orioles are doing. They're going into every single game and they believe that they have a chance. And there's one thing that I always say in sports, and this goes for everything. You don't need to be the best team to win. I'm not saying the Orioles are going to win the championship, but you don't need to be the best team to win. It's just, are you going to bring it more than the other team is this very day, And baseball is a sport where the worst team can beat the best team today and then get smoked tomorrow. And I think that's what makes baseball the most beautiful sport in the world. You just never know. And watching the Baltimore Orioles and the Seattle Mariners this year, maybe Seattle can finally make their playoff run, but this is fun. Baseball is fun right now. I think you guys should all be tuned into the second half of the season because it's going to be a movie, an absolute movie.
And the Mariners too. I mean, when was the last time they made the playoffs? 2001, right? I'm trying to look it up.
Yes, sir. Very long time ago.
And that was when Ben Alex Rodriguez leave them? Was 90?
A-Rod was gone, yeah.
94, 95, something like that.
He played with he left Seattle. His last year in Seattle, I believe, was the year 2000. He played in Texas from 01 to, I believe, 03. 01, 02, and 03, and then he was a Yankee in 04.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking he was drafted in like the 90, 94 season, something like that. And yeah, they're 51-44. You say that?
Yeah, 51.
I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, and the Orioles, they won a big time winning streak too, right? Wasn't it like 7 straight?
Yeah. They were
on that, right?
They were absolutely on fire. Well, they're not on it anymore. Yankees beat them the day before yesterday, but they were looking good. They were looking good. beating up on Tampa, beating up on the teams that you're supposed to when you're a better team. Like if you're beating up on the Cubs, you're doing your thing.
Hmm.
If you're competing with the Yankees and you're competing with Tampa, okay, we can start having conversations now about what's the future of this team. But now it's left to be seen. Do the Orioles believe in what they have? Are they going to make a run and be like, yeah, why not? Let's put some juice into our fan base and let's start trading for a top tier starting pitcher to get us, to put us on our back, to put us
Hmm.
on his back. But we'll see. That's left to be seen.
And then I was looking at my phone. I just saw this quote by Ben Roethlisberger talking about young quarterbacks, and I have a comment to make. This bothered me. I had to double check on the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. Ben recently came out and said it's about young quarterbacks, and he actually had the opportunity to mentor one the last few seasons of Mason Rudolph. And what he said is the game has changed so much. I feel like it's changed the people in a sense. The team was so important back in the day, and it was all about the team. Now it's all about me and this, that, and the other. And he's saying it turned from a team first to a me type attitude. It was hard for me, and seeing all these young guys with the social media, the NIL deals, they're treated so special and they're coddled. When I was at Miami of Ohio, Terry Hopner, my coach, didn't coddle me, and Bill Cowher, he would rip you a new one. He wasn't going to coddle you either. And Ben is right about that part. Young quarterbacks back in the day, look at all the young ones, even in Alex Smith, many of them are just thrown out there. I use Alex as the analog because it was harder. Now we're like, Zach Wilson is taking too many hits. It wasn't really like that 15 years ago. And the big thing is, Ben Roethlisberger says this in spite of not being willing to try to help Mason Rudolph. When they drafted Mason in 2018, guys asked him on an interview how he would help mentor him, and he said, I'll just point to the clipboard. And then when Ben had COVID this last season and missed an important game and was announced out the night before the game against the Lions, he didn't even talk to Mason, even though Mason was taking his exact, whatever you want to call it. The game plan was Ben's, and it was basically handed to Mason. Ben didn't even talk to him, didn't even send him a text or nothing to prepare for a game that was going to help them get into the playoffs. And wouldn't you know it, the Steelers didn't win that game against the winless Lions, they tied. And that game was part of why we almost missed the playoffs because we had a must win game against an 0-9 Lions team we couldn't beat. Part of that was Mason, maybe if you had been talking to him, would have felt a little bit more motivated, would have felt better about himself when it came out, had a stronger start to the game. And Mason had a slower start. He had some bad moments in that game. I said myself, it is not naive, but it's a little bit ridiculous for Ben to say that when he literally did nothing to develop Mason. He had no relationship with him. He clearly did not like Mason just because the Steelers trade up to get him in the third round of the draft. Newsflash, Ben, months before he was considering a retirement. That's why the Steelers took a shot on a guy who they had a first round draft grade on. So when I saw Ben say that, I had to triple check because I thought it was ridiculous in his part. To say something like that when he did the exact opposite his last few years in the NFL. I love Ben, but I think you go in Pittsburgh, you talk to the real ones, they'll say the same thing to you. That is the one thing you can say about Ben. He was not a mentor his last few years, and that is a shame.
Yeah.
No other way to put it. It is a shame as a Steeler fan. I mean, whether or not you believe Mason Rudolph, I don't. As a Pittsburgh Steeler, it's not about you. And just like Ben's saying, if it's not about you, then how can be a mentor Mason Rudolph? This was a potential guy the Steelers were looking at to say, hey, he can start some games for us post Ben. And Ben said, no, you're going to take my job? I'm good. No way. And for him, in a way, he was doing what's best for himself. The thing is, it's easy to say when you're out the NFL, but when you're in it, it's all about survival because no end to an NFL career is pretty, and players know that. They don't want to go out ugly. They want to have the homecoming that Ben had. He was afraid Mason Rudolph was going to take that away from him the same way he was almost taken away from Eli Manning when the Giants drafted Daniel Jones. He wanted to have his own party. Even though Daniel was drafted a year later, he wanted to go on his own terms, and he was afraid Mason was going to take that from him. So regardless, I don't think you can say this when he did the exact opposite as a player. That's just my 2 cents. If you're Kurt Warner, you can say it. If you're Ben, you can't.
Absolutely. I actually have one more thing. I'll make it very fast so we could wrap this up.
Yep.
I completely forgot to mention this one. We were talking about baseball. I have my TV on. I always have MLB Network on 24/7. Today is the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and Big Papi, David Ortiz, is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. One of the most, oh man, I hated this guy when he was playing. This guy absolutely tore up the Yankees every chance that he got. I've seen so many things of him tearing us up in '04 when the Red Sox were down 3-0 in the ALCS and came back on the back of David Ortiz and the rest of the guys. The 3-time champion, probably one of the greatest postseason hitters of our time, one of the greatest, if not the greatest DH of all time, is definitely going to get his flowers, and it's well deserved today. Just wanted to shout that out to Big Papi Ortiz.
Thank you, Big Papi.
But that's
Take a
it.
bow.
That should do it. Episode
That's it.
11 in the books. Everybody, go outside this weekend, get a tan. Lord knows I need one. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh,
It's
gee.
hot outside too.
I think I'm just do some yard work and then take my shirt off out there. But I need something. I'll take a burn. Why not? Why not? But that'll do it. Episode 11 from the boys. Stay classy.